Chapter 872. On the void stairs, the 19 undying city masters stared at the distant Dongbu Shuang. Their eyes were flashing with ferocity. He was after all an overlord whose name shook the entire nine-cloud great land. Even though he knew that this white-robed white-haired male wasn't any weaker than him, how could he admit defeat so easily? As he controlled the dark magic array to descend from the sky, 3 rotating magic arrays appeared in front of him one after another. These 3 dark arrays were of different sizes, but they were like gears that intersected with each other. Their power was stacking up, completely blocking the path ahead of them. 900 surging violet streams of light bombarded against the 3 dark arrays that were interconnected like gears. At the same moment, the dark array in the sky descended towards Dongbu Shuang. Go! Shuang was slightly startled as he looked at the 3 dark arrays in the distance. As for the dark array in the sky, he did not care about it at all. He merely controlled the other 300 flying daggers to directly soar into the sky. Many violet streams of light blasted against the dark array, causing it to tremble before finally shattering into pieces. And in the distance, the 3 gear-like dark arrays in front of Undying City Master were different. The 900 flying daggers were executing the Fish Dragon Kill, a simplified version of the apocalyptic Fifth Sword. Even though its power was greatly reduced after the simplification, the quantity made up for this flaw. It was one of the killing moves of Dongbu Shuang. Long, the 3 dark arrays were revolving continuously. The gears intersected and their power stacked up. If one darkness array formation's defensive power was doubled, then 2 darkness array formations' defensive power would be 10 times, and 3 darkness array formations' defensive power would be 100 times. This was also another reason why Undying City Master dared to proclaim himself as Undying. Only when he maintained 19 bodies could he execute such a move. If it was just his true body, it would be impossible for him to execute such a terrifying move with the strength of his soul. I actually failed to break it? Dongbu Shuang was startled, and it seems that I am still a long way from breaking through the dark array. I really didn't expect that a random opponent in the Treasure God Pagoda would be qualified for me to use the 7 Undying Law Plates. Undying City Master's voice had already returned to his normal hoarseness. Wang, on the foundation of the original 3 darkness formations, new darkness formations were condensed. Every dark formation was like a new gear stacked on top of each other, forming a new whole. If the first 3 dark spell formations were said to be able to accumulate terrifying power, it would be like an immovable city wall. In that case, the new dark magic formation would transform the accumulated power into offensive power. Hua! 3 consecutive dark arrays stacked on top of each other, causing Shuang to feel an intense sense of threat. He even felt that there were a total of 6 dark arrays of different sizes, yet they were extremely coordinated. It was as if they were a perfect whole, just like the operating laws of a cosmos. Right now, the 6 dark spell formations were transforming into terrifying attacks, waiting to be unleashed. The 19 Undying City Masters stood behind the 6 dark magic formations. They were watching this scene with a sneer. His strongest move, the 7 Undying Law Plates, was currently only able to unleash 6 Law Plates easily. His ideal 7 Law Plates was higher. In his opinion, the moment he succeeded in perfecting it, he would be able to fight against Primal Chaos Realm giants. But he had yet to perfect it after cultivating for so many years. Nonetheless, he still named it the 7 Undying Law Plates. It was also for him to chase after this goal forever. I can't underestimate any 5th-level Star Pagoda expert. Dongbu Shuang watched this scene. He waved his hand, causing a total of 1,200 flying daggers to surge over violently. Die! The 19 Undying City Masters coldly shouted. The 6 laws revolved. The outermost Dharma plate suddenly emitted a Dharma plate shadow. The Dharma plate shadow rotated and enveloped all the flying daggers. Chi. When the Dharma plate shadow rotated, it was like a millstone. It easily obliterated the power of the flying daggers. But there were simply too many flying daggers, and they clashed continuously. In the distance, the Celestial Sword Clan and the loose gray-robed girl felt slightly apprehensive as they watched. They did not find it strange that Undying City Master had such a terrifying power. After all, he was famous, and his status was much higher than theirs. But this mysterious silver-masked white-haired male did not seem to be at a disadvantage when clashing head-on. It is fine if there is an Undying City Master, but now there is another one who is so powerful. Is he a native expert of the Nine-Cloud Great Land? If he is a native expert, his name should have spread far and wide. The muscular male wielding a black metal great axe hacked down on the stone door time and time again. The stone door rumbled, forming deep pits. That black metal great axe was also flickering with lightning on its surface. This white-haired white-robed male should not be a native expert. Is he from the three great sacred worlds? Or is he from the ancient sacred religion? The muscular male thought, interesting. This is too interesting. The array plate illusions came crushing over. Even though they were exhausted by the countless flying daggers, those 6 black array plates would produce new array plate illusions. The array plate illusions came one after another, and it was Dongbu Shuang who was gradually falling into a disadvantageous position. His strength seems to be gradually increasing. Dongbu Shuang was startled. With the rotation of the array plate, all energy can be used to converge, and its power will only increase. The 19 Undying City Masters were prideful. Because of this heaven-defying talent, he loved to venture into dangerous places. The Nine-Cloud Great Land was after all a fragment of the primitive ancient sacred world, and there were some unfathomable places left behind. In the past, he had once entered an abandoned cavern dwelling. That cavern dwelling did not have any treasures, but there was a terrifying remnant aura within the cultivation room. That was the aura of the 7 array plates, the 7 black array plates perfectly fused as one and revolved. It was like the ultimate form of darkness and destruction. It shocked Undying City Master greatly. Ever since then, he would frequently comprehend them. From this remnant aura, he gradually deduced that Undying 7 array plates. But what he deduced and what he saw in that cultivation room were many times different. Undying City Master guessed that it could be left behind by a final realm existence. But even if he deduced it slightly, it was enough for Undying City Master to rapidly increase his strength, allowing him to become an overlord of a region in the entire Nine-Cloud Great Land. As long as primal Chaos Realm giants did not appear, he was an unparalleled existence. It can suppress my fish dragon kill. Dongbu Shuang did not expect that he could get through the 5th level of Star Pagoda just by relying on the fish dragon kill. Interesting. A cold light flashed in the eyes of Dongbu Shuang. Wang! An unseen ripple immediately permeated into the 6 rotating dark array plates. The strongest domain-type absolute art of the Great Void Heaven Temple, the plate ripple diagram, had a powerful domain restriction, causing the 6 rotating dark array plates to be affected. Even the attacking array plate illusory images were being obstructed. Even though they could still maintain their offense, their power was clearly reduced. Not good. This unseen ripple had also enveloped the 19 bodies of Undying City Master at the same time. It caused the expression of Undying City Master to change abruptly. It was hard for him to escape from such a terrifying restriction. His 19 bodies immediately started to turn incorporeal, like black mist. Dongbu Shuang, who had unleashed the full power of the plate ripple diagram, was suppressing Undying City Master and the 6 great array plates. At the same time, the densely packed flying knives maintained their strongest power. They left behind countless violet light afterimages as they once again enveloped over. As for the greatly weakened array plate illusions, they seemed to have shattered after enduring for a moment. How could this be? Even though Undying City Master was unwilling to believe it, he understood that he wasn't the opponent of this mysterious white-robed man. If he were to fight head-on, he would likely die. Chapter 873. Suddenly, the 3 outermost magic discs that were used to attack dissipated, leaving behind the initial 3 dark magic discs. These 3 dark magic discs enveloped Undying City Master's black fog body and rapidly flew down the void stairs. Even though the flying daggers released by Dongbu Shuang bombarded the 3 dark array plates, they could not break through. In the blink of an eye, Undying City Master rushed down the void stairs. He landed on the ground before saying with a hoarse voice, "Admirable, admirable. Who would have thought that I would meet an expert who could suppress me in the treasure cove? Can we stop here?" Dongbu Shuang looked downwards. He snorted before turning to the stone door in front of him. At that moment, countless violet flying daggers bombarded the stone door. He stopped. This white-haired white-robed man is actually gaining the upper hand. The grey-robed girl, Celestial Sword Clan, the muscular male and the others were slightly startled. Even though Undying City Master had retreated the moment the situation turned bad, he did not engage in a life-and-death battle. But the situation was clear. Undying City Master had displayed his most famous Undying Array plate, yet he was still forced to retreat. This made them wary of Dongbu Shuang. Even the Celestial Sword Clan thought, where did Brother Feishui come from? He is definitely not like what he said, breaking through to the Unity Realm just after entering closed-door cultivation. How could someone who just broke through be so powerful? Judging by his strength, he doesn't seem to be an overlord of our 9-cloud great land. He should be from the outer world. In the outer world. That meant he was from the 3 great sacred worlds or the 2 great religions. That was not strange at all. The 9-cloud great land was ultimately a small place. There were many who reached the 5th-level star pagoda from the 3 great sacred worlds and the 2 great religions, like the Great Void Heaven Temple which focused on the path of elites accepted few disciples. But they had dozens of inner hall elders. And the Great Void Heaven Temple was merely a holy ground in the 7-star oceanic sacred world of the 3 great sacred worlds. No matter what, he has saved my heavenly sword mountain and my life. The Celestial Sword Clan thought, however, with his strength and background, it's best if I maintain some distance from him in the future. If I get involved in the conflict between the 2 great religions of the 3 saints' worlds, I'll probably be crushed instantly. Boom! The muscular man in the distance suddenly swung his axe, finally breaking through the stone door. The stone door shattered, revealing a spatial entrance. The burly man laughed and said, "The 2 of you fought, but I took advantage of you. I'll go in first." After saying that, he put away his axe and strode into the stone door, disappearing. He's gone to the 2nd level. Dongbu Shuang, on the other hand, hastened his pace as a large number of flying sabers with terminus energy swirling around them shot out continuously. Undying City Master had also returned to the end of his void stairs and was attacking the stone door. Although he was attacking the stone door, he was constantly on guard against Dongbu Shuang. Once Dongbu Shuang came over, he would probably escape immediately. Humph. Dongbu Shuang glanced at the distant Undying City Master, but he didn't bother about him and continued attacking the stone door. Boom! The stone door was pierced through by a group of flying sabers, revealing the spatial entrance. Dongbu Shuang immediately stepped in. He felt the space changing and the scene in front of him had changed. In front of him was a wasteland. On the wasteland, there were many huge meteorites. Every meteorite was around 300 meters tall, like a small mountain. Boom, boom, boom. The muscular man in the distance was currently wielding a black iron axe. His body had grown to around 300 meters tall, and he was furiously hacking at the meteorites in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. Every time the axe hacked down, it would only cause some meteorite powder to fly out. Dongbu Shuang turned his head to take a look. However, he couldn't find the spatial entrance that he came from. However, this was normal. Every time a stone door formed a spatial entrance, only one person could enter. After entering, the spatial entrance would vanish. Therefore, in the 1st level of the treasure cove, one could escape through the God Tower's door. But in the 2nd or 3rd level, one would have to stay for 3 days before they would be teleported out. These meteorite hills are really hard to hack. The muscular man said loudly. Go. Dongbu Shuang casually chose the nearest meteorite hill. Instantly, a large number of flying sabers appeared. Every flying saber had termination energy swirling around it, transforming into countless purple rays of light that bombarded the meteorite hill. Accompanied by a series of explosions, some debris was sent flying, and traces of a depression could be seen on the meteorite hill. This caused Dongbo Shuiying's expression to change slightly. According to the intelligence, one had to completely destroy a meteorite hill and turn it into powder. If it was only broken into 8 or 10 pieces, it wouldn't be enough. When it was completely turned into powder, a spatial entrance would appear, and one could use it to enter the highest level of the treasure cove, the 3rd level. The treasures hidden in the 3rd level were even more precious. Even to Emperor Jiuyun, these treasures were extremely important. A treasure cove god tower would normally only have 2 or 3 treasures on the 3rd level. However, it was too difficult to enter. It was relatively easy to just break the meteorite hill into pieces. But to completely turn it into powder, that was too difficult. Usually, only Primal Chaos Realm giants could do it. If it was a Unity Realm expert, he would have to reach the 6th level Star Pagoda strength before he could do it. Of course, even if he could not do it, he would still be able to reap some rewards. Because there were many treasures hidden within a single meteorite hill. During the process of breaking the hill and turning the rocks into powder, one would gradually discover the treasures. Who? As Dongbo Shuiying was studying the meteorite hill, another figure appeared in the 2nd level space of the treasure cove. He was Undying City Master. The 3 of them have entered the 2nd level. Do you plan on going? Celestial Sword Clan stood on the void stairs and asked. After entering the 2nd level, one would have to stay for 3 days before being teleported out. Even if one wanted to escape, it would be impossible for one to escape. Undying City Master and the others might be able to survive after entering, but for us to enter? Are we sending ourselves to death? The gray-robed girl shook her head. She was an extremely prideful person. But after seeing Dongbo Shuiying fighting with Undying City Master, she wisely chose not to enter the 2nd level. Celestial Sword Clan chuckled. He became vigilant. Because he would not be entering the 2nd level. He had to be careful of this gray-robed girl for the next 3 days. Treasure Cove God Pagoda, 2nd level space. After Undying City Master entered. Hong. The muscular male who was originally brandishing his black great axe suddenly kept it. He stomped on the ground, causing the ground to shake. This power caused the distant Dongbo Shuiying who was already on guard to have a change in expression. Such terrifying strength. This was the space of the treasure cove god pagoda, yet he could cause the entire ground to shake with a single stomp. This strength was absolutely beyond his. It was likely more than 10 times stronger. The muscular male was too fast. His speed was absolutely fast. Dongbo Shuiying estimated that the other party's speed should be 50% faster than his. Where did this expert come from? Dongbo Shuiying was startled. He had guessed that this muscular male was extraordinary, but this was still out of his expectations. Shatter! That muscular male's clearly thick arms suddenly let out a dazzling golden light. Every single arm was filled with many ugly life-form carvings. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes dilated. He recognized that these ugly life-form carvings were in the appearance of the destruction devils at the boundary of the void. Every single arm of the muscular male had 8 destruction devil carvings, causing his arms to possess a power that made Dongbo Shuiying feel an intense threat. Both his fists were equipped with weapon gloves. He exerted all his strength and punched out furiously at Dongbo Shuiying like 2 sky pillars. Ha ha ha, die! You don't think that I'll admit defeat so easily, right? The 19 Undying City Masters appeared once again. 6 black array plates appeared once again. Even though Dongbo Shuiying held the upper hand previously, Undying City Master gave up so quickly because of the muscular male's voice transmission. If you don't die, the 2 of us can never be at ease. The eyes of the muscular male were filled with madness. If you die, the Golden Whisker Sky Thunder Wood will be split between the 2 of us. On the 2nd level of the Treasure Cove God Pagoda, even if one destroyed the small meteorite hill for 3 consecutive days, the total amount of treasures obtained might not be comparable to the Golden Whisker Sky Thunder would. Chapter 874. The muscular man's fists seemed to be causing the entire second-level space to tremble. When this pair of fists came smashing over, Dongbu Shuang didn't even have the thought of blocking it. The power of this pair of fists is too strong. Without hesitation, he turned his body illusory and hid in the mirage world. At the same time, he also executed his domain-type absolute art, the plate ripple diagram, as well as the densely packed flying daggers. What a powerful domain! The muscular man was extremely confident in himself. However, he still felt the suppression of this domain, causing his strength and speed to decrease. Following that, a dense number of purple flying daggers shot over. Pang! He didn't care about these flying daggers at all. The offense of his fists didn't change at all. When a portion of the flying daggers collided with his fists, sparks could be seen flying out from the gloved fists. Even more purple flying daggers landed on the muscular man's body. However, that muscular body of his was able to forcefully block all the flying daggers. In fact, there was even a faint black glow appearing on the surface of his skin. Boom! Because Dongbu Shuang was able to dodge quickly with the help of his domain-type absolute art, that pair of fists landed on a small meteorite hilt by the side. The meteorite hilt trembled slightly, and two fist-sized holes appeared on it. What a powerful fist! It's much more powerful than the axe he used previously. Upon seeing this, Dongbu Ying's eyes lit up. When he used that black axe previously, he was truly hiding his strength. However, his body is too strong. He actually dared to block my flying daggers. It was one thing for his opponent to have great strength and speed. However, his body was like a void god weapon. This caused Dongbu Shuang to be speechless. Even with the illusory state and the mirage world, his body's defense might not be comparable to this man in front of him. His combat techniques are ordinary. However, his body is a terrifying weapon. Dongbu Shuang judged silently. It would be difficult for others to kill him. However, when he attacks his enemies, those who are slightly slower would not be able to dodge. If they were to be hit by his fist, they would be heavily injured even if they don't die. Hua! The translucent illusion of the Dharma disc also enveloped him. The 19 Undying City Masters sneered. He became even more confident when he saw his comrade's strength. He believed that if the two of them worked together, they would definitely be able to kill this mysterious expert. This comrade of mine has such a powerful body and such powerful speed. However, his battle style is also rather simple. It's straightforward. It doesn't pose any threat to me. He had a total of 19 bodies, so he could easily scatter and escape. The majestic man's straightforward and simple fighting style was a threat to experts who only had a body, but to Undying City Master, it was no threat. On the other hand, Dongbu Shuang was different. Dongbu Shuang specialized in group attacks and domain attacks. He was strong enough to threaten the Undying City Master's life. As long as Dongbu Shuang was still alive, Undying City Master felt a strong threat. Whether it was for the Golden Whisker Sky Thunder Wood or for the treasure hunt in the next 3 days, he had to get rid of Dongbu Shuang. Help me stop him! The muscular man roared. Leave it to me. He won't be able to escape. Undying City Master was very confident. No matter how fast Dongbu Shuang was escaping, how could he be faster than the illusion of the Dharma disc? Facing the translucent illusion of the Dharma disc that easily infiltrated the mirage world and arrived in front of him, Dongbu Shuang sighed inwardly. The two experts working together was indeed not ordinary. Although the plate ripple diagram was the strongest domain-type absolute art, it was still proficient in suppressing and restraining in all aspects. His opponent was still able to maintain 60 to 70% of his strength. Who? A large group of purple light flying daggers appeared out of nowhere and bombarded the illusion of the Dharma disc. The illusion of the Dharma disc naturally couldn't withstand the plate ripple diagram's fluctuations and directly dissipated. At this moment, the fist of the muscular man had already arrived. He grinned savagely and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Undying City Master laughed when he saw this. He might be able to block one, but he wouldn't be able to block the second. Dongbua Shuang looked at the muscular man and spoke softly, "Descend." Illusory layers of worlds descended, completely surrounding the muscular man's body. The size of each world wasn't considered big, only about half a kilometer. At first glance, it seemed like a world. If one looked carefully at the boundary of this world, they would discover that there were a total of 120 layers of membranes stacked on top of each other. 120 layers of dark world descended at the same time. It turned from illusory to real, absorbing the heaven and earth energy as it rapidly shrunk. Shuang laughed as he looked at the ferocious-looking man whose fist was just a few meters away from Shuang. Due to the restriction of the many layers of worlds, the muscular man was unable to advance any further. At this moment, the muscular man revealed a look of astonishment as he looked at Shuang. This world was too tough. He was actually unable to charge out. Dongbua Shuang muttered softly, "Pang." A low rumbling sound could be heard. 120 layers of dark world were destroyed at the same time, and the power within all bombarded the muscular man's body. This was the strongest killing move that Dongbua Shuang had created. His talent in the Tao of Mirage was indeed very high. He had comprehended the second style of the dark world, Heaven Punishment Edge, but he wasn't able to execute it. Therefore, Dongbua Shuang simplified the first style, Dark Bubble. Even though it was simplified, it allowed its power to be maintained at a certain level, allowing him to execute more of it. He even absorbed some of the techniques from the second style when he created it. Originally, he could only execute 6 dark bubbles with his full strength. But now, with the simplified version of multi-layered World of Darkness, even though the scale of each layer was smaller and the power was weaker, he was able to execute 120 layers. Even though they were both simplified versions, the simplified version of the 5th apocalyptic sword, Fish Dragon Kill, wasn't as powerful as the multi-layered World of Darkness. The main reason was that Dongbua Shuang had walked further in the dark world. He had even completely comprehended the second style. Hong, the muscular man, also felt the terrifying might blasting against his body. It transmitted deep into his body and even shook his soul. Pu. The muscular man couldn't help but spurt out fresh blood. It was mixed with pieces of his internal organs. His ears and nose had blood seeping out. His clothes were tattered and the skin that was exposed was flowing with black light. There wasn't a single wound on his skin. His skin isn't even broken? Dongbua Shuang was astonished. Even though he was astonished, he could tell that the muscular man was injured as well. It was just that his body was too tough, causing his internal organs to be slightly weaker. What move is this? Undying City Master, who was watching excitedly from afar, was stunned. He could already tell how strong the muscular man's body was. Previously, the muscular man didn't even care about the flying daggers. But now, he was being bombarded to such a state. He was concealing his strength previously. The muscular man growled, "He can't kill me. Let's attack together." And then, Undying City Master gritted his teeth. He couldn't retreat at this moment because he had nowhere to run in the second level of the treasure cove. He could only fight. However, a trace of reverence rose in Undying City Master's heart. This white-haired white-robed man had actually concealed his strength on the first level. He was able to suppress him just by revealing a portion of his strength. If he were to unleash his full strength on the first level, Undying City Master might even lose his life. Luckily, he had a comrade who was on par with him. Chapter 875. Dongbua Shuang rarely used his flying dagger. He mainly relied on the combination of multi-layered darkness world and plate ripple diagram. Because multi-layered darkness world had some advantages over the flying dagger. For example, the attack was more sudden. The flying dagger still needed to fly over to kill the enemy. But multi-layered darkness world could directly descend from the illusory to the real world and envelop the enemy. There was no way to dodge. Previously, he had suddenly executed this technique on Undying City Master. Against the 19 bodies of Undying City Master, every single one of them was covered in 3 layers of Dark World. After all, Shuang had some understanding of the defensive capabilities of the other party's body that could transform into black fog. Just 3 layers of Darkness World shouldn't be able to kill him. But what Dongbu Shuang wanted was to not be able to kill him. The 19 bodies all suffered from the attacks of 3 layers of Darkness World. There was a total of 57 layers of Darkness World. At most, he could execute 120 layers of Darkness World. This. Undying City Master's 19 bodies suffered attacks at the same time. Furthermore, the attacks came from the illusory world, causing him to feel the threat of death. The threat of the 2 of you joining hands isn't enough. Furthermore, you are using the same moves over and over again. Dongbu Shuang shook his head and said. His voice reverberated through the second level of the treasure cove. Since that is the case, let's end this. Shuang had always wanted to fight an evenly matched battle. He wanted to temper himself and force himself to do so. If he was able to execute the second move of Darkness World, Sky Punishment Edge, that would be great. He had comprehended it, but he was unable to execute it. This was something that Dongbu Shuang had always been puzzled about. It was a pity that the threat brought by the 2 of them wasn't enough. The muscular man was strong, but his attacking style was simple. Undying City Master could only execute the Undying 7 Laws plate. Although it was profound, it was mainly this killer move. But this was normal. Experts of the Witchcraft and Laws and Profound Mysteries system might have more varied techniques. Experts of other systems would usually specialize in a single killer move. You are unable to do anything to us. Undying City Master sneered. He and the muscular man wouldn't admit defeat. There was no way to escape here. Defeat was equivalent to death. Idiot. Dongbu Shuang sneered. Could it be that they didn't realize that the multi-layered world of darkness that he used to attack the majestic man had a total of 120 layers, while he only used 3 layers to attack the Undying City Master? That's right, the attack was too fast, as if a dark world had been shattered. The enemy probably didn't even notice the difference in the number of layers of the world membrane. Descend. Dongbu Shuang decided to use it once more. This time, the 19 bodies of Undying City Master were all attacked by the 3 layers of the dark world. At the same time, Dongbu Shuang had also conjured 63 dark worlds in the air around him. However, this large group of dark worlds did not attack any of the enemies. It was purely to show off. The continuous dark world shattered. Undying City Lord was stunned. He can still use so many world-shattering arts? Undying City Master felt a chill from the bottom of his heart. Seeing so many dark worlds not attacking any of the enemies, he felt despair. If all these dark worlds attacked him, would his 19 clones still be able to resist? You can kill him, but you can't do anything to me. The majestic man stood there. His eyes were cold, but he knew that the situation wasn't good. Because his comrade Undying City Master was completely frightened. Dongbu Shuang glanced at him, is that so? As he spoke, he flipped his hand and a black gourd appeared in his hand. Show! A palm-sized fireball suddenly flew out, transforming into a shooting star. Facing this shooting star-like fireball, the majestic man felt his heart palpitating. But under the suppression of the plate ripple diagram's domain, he could not escape or evade at all. The fireball instantly blasted against his chest. His incomparably tough body was directly pierced through, forming a huge hole. Furthermore, under Ying's deliberate control, the fireball's power still affected the body of the muscular male. The majestic man's eyes were wide open. He lowered his head and looked at the huge hole in his chest, as well as the damage his body had suffered. If I am willing, killing you is also very easy. Dongbu Shuang said. Dongbu Ying's current realm was higher, and his control of the fireball was much more flexible. Even the trajectory of the fireball had traces of the plate ripple diagram, making it hard for the majestic man to dodge. Silence reigned. In the second level of the treasure cove, Undying City Master and the majestic man stood there in a daze. They weren't fools, and they understood that this expert in front of them had the confidence to kill the two of them. "If you can kill us, why didn't you?" the majestic man said in a low voice. "Why didn't you make a move in the first level? Were you afraid that I would escape?" Undying City Master asked, "But now that I have nowhere to escape to, why aren't you killing us?" Dongba Shuang said, "In the first level, I naturally can't reveal too much of my strength. If I reveal too much, it might scare the two of you. Do you still dare to enter the second level?" The majestic man and Undying City Master understood. If they had sensed the danger of death at that time, they wouldn't have entered the second level and allowed others to control their life and death. "I hope that the two of you can enter the second level," Dongba Shuang said. He pointed to the small meteorite hill by the side. "I am not confident of destroying this small meteorite hill in just 3 days. I need helpers. And the two of you are strong enough. You are the helpers I need. I naturally won't kill the two of you." The majestic man and Undying City Master revealed a bitter smile. So, the other party had been hiding his strength and only revealed it at the very last moment. It was all for the sake of turning the two of them into laborers. Dongba Shuang sighed inwardly. Actually, he fought with the two of them in hopes of breaking through. It would be best if he could unleash the Sky Punishment Edge. That would give him the strength of the 6th level Star Pagoda. That way, it would be easier for him to enter the 3rd level of the Treasure Cove. It's a pity that he could not break through. These two helpers were extremely important. The two of you have 2 choices. One is to die, and the other is to help me destroy this small meteorite hill. As long as you help me, I can promise to let the two of you live," Dongba Shuang said. The two of them exchanged glances. They had no choice. "All right. You are formidable. We will help you," the two of them said. "I still don't know what your name is. Let us know who exactly we lost to, and why we lost so miserably," the majestic man said. Dongba Shuang said, "Just call me Feishue." The moment the majestic man and Undying City Master heard it, they understood that this was a fake name. Because they had never heard of any powerful cultivators called Feishue before. Xiao. Dongba Shuang controlled the fireball from the black gourd to bombard the small meteorite hill by the side. But at the moment of contact, he was obstructed by an unseen spatial barrier. He could not touch it no matter what. It is indeed impossible to rely on external force. Dongba Shuang shook his head inwardly. The intelligence report had already stated clearly. It was impossible to rely on external force to attack the small meteorite hill. One had to rely on one's own comprehension of a killing move. External force? For instance, a powerful and precious talisman that could unleash an attack at the primal chaos realm, but Emperor Jiuyun was clearly testing the strength of the younger generation cultivators and not external force. Hurry up and do it. Stop wasting time. We do not have much time left. Dongba Shuang roared. The majestic man and Undying City Master sighed helplessly in their hearts. They could only start doing manual labor. Dongba Shuang added from the side, "We have to do our best. I am clear of the strength of the two of you. Previously, the two of you were filled with fighting spirit when dealing with me. If the two of you are lazy, then I can only send the two of you to your deaths. We don't dare, we don't dare." The two of them felt even more helpless. So the previous battle was for the sake of probing the opponent's strength, preventing the two of them from being lazy. When Dongba Shuang saw the results of their attack on the small meteorite hill, he could not help but nod inwardly. The attacks of the two of them are quite powerful. The two of them added together have almost caught up to my destruction speed. I hope that we can destroy this small meteorite hill within 3 days. Dongba Shuang felt the pressure too. Sweat, the first chapter was actually a failure. The previous 2 chapters had already been published. Star. Chapter 876. Both the muscular male and undying city master had some status and reputation. Currently, for the sake of their lives, they were obediently doing their best to destroy the small meteorite hill. They were not interested in displaying their backbone and going against Dongbu Shuang. Because the consequences of going against them would be that Dongbu Shuang would not hesitate to kill them. They were already prepared for this when they acted. Either they succeeded or they failed and died. Currently, it was not bad that Dongbu Shuang left them with a path of survival. In the blink of an eye, a day passed. This is troublesome. Dongbu Shuang frowned as he looked at the small meteorite hill that was about 300 meters tall. Currently, both Undying City Master and Undying City Master were attacking without any complaints. If not for the multilayered Dark World technique, both Undying City Master and Undying City Master were much stronger than Dongbu Shuang in terms of offense. Their efficiency in destroying the small meteorite hill was relatively high. Many small pits were appearing. The entire small meteorite hill was like a fruit that had been bitten off. Large amounts of crushed rocks fell by the side. Under the control of Dongbu Shuang, they flew up. Hong! The 120 layers of the realm of darkness descended, wrapping around the meteorite fragment that was half a meter in diameter. Then, the 120 layers of the realm of darkness were completely destroyed. The power of the realm of darkness converged and bombarded the meteorite fragment. In an instant, the meteorite fragment was completely destroyed into powder. This caused the muscular man and Undying City Master to be speechless. Even though they had seen it many times, this destructive power still made them apprehensive. This move should be close to the 6th level of Star Pagoda. The muscular male muttered inwardly, "My body is practically indestructible, yet I am still heavily injured." Looking at this world-destroying technique, could it be that it is that new Inner Hall Elder from the Great Void Heaven Temple? Undying City Master had stayed in the Nine-Cloud Great Land for a long period of time, and his experience was much lesser. But the muscular male was different. His experience was much broader. He carefully thought about it. The most famous Unity Realm expert who specialized in using this illusory world to descend and destroy was the new Inner Hall Elder from the Great Void Heaven Temple, Dongbu Shuang. But according to the intelligence, he should not be that formidable. This is troublesome. Only 20% of the small meteorite hill has been destroyed in a day. Can we make it in 3 days? Dongbu Shuang was a little anxious. Sigh, although I have comprehended the second style of the Dark World, I am unable to use it. Although the apocalyptic sixth sword is close to a breakthrough, it is normal for me to be stuck at the bottleneck for millions of years. I only have 2 days left, and I don't have the time to study it. Using the 120 layers of the world of darkness had already exhausted all of his concentration. There was no way he could divert his attention to comprehend them. My heart realm has yet to break through. If I did, I should be able to reach the 6th level Star Pagoda strength. Dongbu Shuang thought. The self-created multi-layered world of darkness could only be unleashed to 120 layers with the current soul strength. If there were more levels, the power would naturally be stronger. There were not many ways to improve the soul. One was to step into the primal chaos realm, and that was a qualitative improvement. The other option was to consume large amounts of origin world stones, which were also beneficial to the soul. However, he would need to consume a lot of it. Another method was the realm. 3 realms of the mind. Many Unity Realm experts had yet to step into the 3rd realm, including Dongbu Shuang. There were even some primal chaos realm giants who did not pay much attention to the heart realm who had yet to reach the 3rd realm. The 3rd realm of the heart realm, my heart as the world, the moment one broke through, the soul would experience a qualitative improvement, just like iron being forged into steel. Similarly, when one reached the 1st level, the soul would be as bright as colored glass. When one reached the 2nd level, the entire soul would be as sharp as a blade. If one reached the 3rd level, just one's willpower could easily kill true god rulers. One look and they would die. That was definitely not a lie. Under that situation, If one's heart force was strong, it would be easy for one to control an entire set of flying knives. But when one unleashed the multi-layered world of darkness, it would not be 120 levels. It would most likely be 300 or even 500 levels. One would only know after breaking through. The number of levels one could unleash would greatly increase, and one's strength would naturally increase as well. It should be comparable to the 6th level Star Pagoda strength. It's a pity that the final breakthrough of the Heart Realm is harder to comprehend. Dongbui Shuang shook his head. There were still ways to temper the first 2 levels of the Heart Realm. As for the 3rd level, my heart as the world, there was no other way. Not even the Great Void Heaven Temple could do anything about it. One had to rely on one's own experiences and comprehension. Since he could not break through, Dongbui Shuang could only do his best to destroy those meteorite fragments, turning them into powder. Hong! Hong! The muscular male's fists were constantly blasting out holes. Suddenly, he punched out again and penetrated through the meteorite. There is a hole inside. The muscular male said. Quick! Dongbui Shuang revealed a look of joy. He urged. Undying City Master was also helping by the side. The array plate illusory image shrunk and continued crushing those meteorites. The muscular male was also doing his best to smash the meteorites with his fists. Dongbui Shuang continued destroying the rocks while watching. Finally, that meteorite completely collapsed, revealing a hole within. A black armor floated within. Good! Dongbui Shuang praised. His expression was still calm. The black armor was a top-grade Void God weapon. It was worth about 300 Origin World rocks. The only thing that disappointed Dongbui Shuang was that the black armor did not occupy a huge hole. It was merely a meter in diameter. One must know, there were many treasures hidden within the meteorite hill. Every single treasure occupied a hole. During the process of attacking, some of the holes would collapse. The bigger the hole, the more time it would save. A mere meter in diameter, to a 300-meter-tall meteorite hill, it was not worth mentioning at all. Continue. With a thought from Dongbui Shuang, the black armor flew over. Dongbui Shuang kept it into his storage treasure and continued to instruct. Although the muscular male and Undying City Master were envious, they could only endure it and continue to do hard labor. Time continued to flow. The 2nd day had passed. It was now the final 3rd day. More than 50% of the meteorite hill had been destroyed. However, it was clear that time was too tight. Pang! Undying City Master controlled the array plate illusory image to crush a region of the meteorite hill. Suddenly, with a pang sound, it directly penetrated through. There's a treasure. Undying City Master said. Dongbui Shuang had long activated his formless ripple. He was constantly monitoring everything. Naturally, he had also discovered it. The ripple flowed through the hole and into the hole. This caused Dongbui Shuang to reveal a look of wild joy. Even someone as calm as him could not suppress the joy on his face. Because this hole was simply too big. Quick, quick! Dongbui Shuang urged. Pang pang pang! The muscular male and Undying City Master attacked with all their might. Instantly, pieces of the meteorite hill collapsed. This was an extremely huge hole. One must know that the entire meteorite hill was 300 meters tall. However, the width and length of this hole was only around 30 meters. The largest hole was around 50 meters, while the smallest hole was around 10 meters. This hole occupied more than half of the meteorite hill. This allowed Dongbui Shuang to see the hope of destroying the entire meteorite hill. Within this huge hole, a sapling was placed. The sapling was around 50 meters tall. Its leaves were jade green. Jade Wave Realm God Tree. Dongbui Shuang revealed a look of joy. This was also the most valuable treasure amongst the 9 treasures found on the meteorite hill. Its value was around 1,600 Origin World rocks. It had surpassed the other 8 treasures added together. Hong 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 soon, more than half of the third day had passed, and there were only 6 hours left. The muscular male, undying city master and the others were doing their best to smash the meteorite fragments. Xueying was also displaying the multi-layered dark world to attack the final meteorite fragments. Following that, there was a final boom. Finally all the meteorite hill turned into dust. Success. Although the muscular male and undying city master were doing hard labor, they felt relieved. They were afraid that they would not be able to destroy the entire meteorite hill within 3 days. They were afraid that Dongbu Xueying would vent his anger on them and kill them. At the very least, Dongbu Xueying's mood was not bad. The entire meteorite hill has a total of 10 treasures. In total, they are worth around 3,800 origin world rocks. There's also the golden whisker sky thunder wood that I obtained from the first level. It's a pity that it is still far from 10,000 origin world rocks. Dongbu Xueying thought. However, he was still feeling elated in his heart. He was very clear that his harvest this time was extremely shocking. When a spatial entrance appeared in midair, Dongbu Xueying had already released the open ripple map to suppress the surroundings. He did not wish for others to enter before him. Because they had only destroyed one meteorite hill, the spatial entrance would close after one person entered. So, Dongbu Xueying flew to the side of the entrance and looked down. The muscular male and undying city master were extremely nervous. The muscular male even said, "You said that if we help you, you will spare our lives." He had even guessed Dongbu Xueying's identity. He was afraid that he would incur Dongbu Xueying's killing intent, but he did not dare to say it. "Hand over all your treasures." Dongbu Xueying looked down. "I will spare your lives." All the treasures? The two of them were startled. However, they did not hesitate to toss out all their storage treasures and weapons. It was good that they could live. With a thought from Dongbu Xueying, all the treasures flew over and were kept by Dongbu Xueying. Following that, Dongbu Xueying turned and flew into the spatial entrance. After entering, the spatial entrance disappeared. Who? Only then did undying city master and the muscular male heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, he did not kill us. The two of them had truly walked on the edge of death. Hong. The muscular male turned and waved his fists, smashing furiously towards the meteorite hill by the side. Undying city master woke up as well. He hurriedly chose a meteorite hill and started attacking it. He had to make full use of his time. There were still 6 hours left. He might be able to obtain some treasures in these 6 hours to make up for his losses. If he was lucky, he might even be able to earn a huge profit. Chapter 877. When Dongbu Xueying stepped into the entrance, he could feel the space around him distorting. Following which, his vision turned dark. This is... Dongbu Xueying was already standing in a dark and ancient hall. The hall wasn't big and was only about 100 meters wide. The dark gray door of the hall was closed. A faint aroma could be sensed from within the hall, permeating through every corner of the hall. This is the third level of the treasure cove. Xueying looked at this seemingly ordinary palace hall. It was completely empty, with only a few decorations present. For instance, there were some items hanging on the walls, and there was a throne right at the front. Behind the throne, there was a huge sculpture on the wall. It was a sculpture of a huge dark cloud. Even though the dark cloud was just a carving, it seemed to cover the entire sky. An invisible pressure enveloped the entire hall. Where are the treasures? Where are the treasures of the third level? Since I'm able to enter, it means that the treasures of the third level haven't been completely taken away. Dongbu Xueying thought to himself. He had long released his invisible ripples to scan every corner of the hall, but he didn't manage to find anything. Dongbu Xueying walked forward with some doubts. His gaze first landed on the most eye-catching carving of the hall, which was right behind the throne. The dark cloud carving was too eye-catching. In fact, it even gave off a strong pressure. Dongbu Xueying soon walked to the side of the throne. He lifted his head and looked at every part of the dark cloud carving. The lines of the carving. Impressive. These lines are very natural, but they have already formed an extremely mysterious array. I wasn't able to identify it at first glance. Dongbo Shuang observed carefully. Even though this array was powerful, he couldn't move it away. He wasn't able to learn it yet. Furthermore, this dark cloud carving array didn't seem to be used for battle. Found it. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes lit up as he looked at the edges of the carvings. There were black pearls embedded in the carvings as decorations. There were a total of 12 black beads. They looked ordinary and seemed to be one with the sculpture. Their aura had also fused with the sculpture. Dongbo Shuang did not notice any problems with them even with the plate ripple diagram. But when he looked at them from a close distance, he could vaguely see that there were clouds moving around the black beads. This was something that could not be seen with other methods, and could only be seen with the naked eye. These 12 pearls were known as the Black Water Pearl. They were extremely famous treasures in the primitive ancient saint world. A single one was worth more than 3,000 origin world stones, and it was rumored that there were even more miraculous uses when there were too many of them. Even final realm existences were collecting them. 12 black water droplets are worth more than 36,000 origin world rocks. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes lit up. With a single thought, a total of 9 flying daggers flew out and pierced the edges of the black water droplets. However, the entire surface of the dark cloud sculpture suddenly lit up with a layer of invisible light. Pang pang pang. Instantly, all the flying daggers were knocked away. This dark cloud sculpture is so powerful. Although Dongbo Shuiying had expected this, he was still a little unwilling. Destroy this sculpture array. Without the protection of the entire array, the black water pearl itself is just a precious treasure. It will be much easier to obtain it. With a thought from Shuiying, Hong Long Long, a total of 1,200 flying daggers, each carrying a violet termination energy, surged out and bombarded the dark cloud sculpture with a grandiose momentum. The invisible light on the surface of the dark cloud sculpture deflected all the incoming flying daggers. Go! Dongbo Shuiying willed. In an instant, a total of 120 layers of dark world descended. However, every layer of dark world was in the shape of a hemispherical, and it enveloped one of the corners of the dark cloud sculpture. With Dongbo Shuiying's strength, he could vaguely determine that that was one of the central points of the countless runes on the dark cloud sculpture. Hong, the descent of the 120 layers of dark world caused the heaven and earth energy in the hall to surge violently. The final explosion caused the invisible light on the surface of the dark cloud sculpture to appear once more, and it easily blocked the attacks. How could this be? All of my attacks were easily blocked by it. Dongbo Shuiying could feel that his attacks were still far from the limit of the invisible light on the surface of the dark cloud sculpture. The invisible light blocked his attacks with ease. Could it be that I really can't obtain it? Dongbo Shuiying looked at the dark cloud sculpture in front of him, and then looked at the 12 black water pearls that were used as decorations. He could see it, but he couldn't obtain it. Let's search again. Dongbo Shuiying searched the entire hall carefully. He even tried to remove some of the decorations hanging on the walls. Unfortunately, the walls were all protected by arrays, and he couldn't remove them at all. After searching for a while, Dongbo Shuiying walked back to the side of the dark cloud sculpture. He lowered his head and looked at the throne in front of him. This was a throne that was entirely carved out of wood. The patterns on the wood were beautiful. If one were to carefully observe it, these patterns would faintly form many sinister faces. There was a sinister aura permeating out towards Dongbo Shuiying. This is the ghost diagram sacred wood? Dongbo Shuiying was dumbstruck. He extended his hand and gently caressed it. There was indeed an unseen array sealing the surface of this throne. No wonder there is no aura coming from this throne that is carved out of the ghost diagram sacred wood. So it is isolated by arrays. If I don't carefully observe the patterns, I wouldn't be able to recognize it. The ghost diagram sacred wood might seem to emit a sinister aura, but it was something powerful cultivators yearned for. Even if one used a small amount of ghost diagram sacred wood to refine a necklace around the neck, or carve it on a storage wristband, it would be beneficial to the soul. Carving such a huge piece into a throne was considered extravagant even to cosmos gods. Furthermore, after the collapse of the primitive ancient sacred world, the ghost diagram sacred wood could no longer be produced. The value of this throne was even higher. It was double the price of the one in the primitive ancient sacred world, and should be worth 50,000 origin world rocks. 50,000 origin world rocks. No wonder Emperor Joyun's treasure cove could drive primal chaos realm giants crazy. One had to know that most primal chaos realm giants could not take out 50,000 origin world rocks even after selling all their treasures. Even those who had gotten through the 8th level of Star Pagoda might not be able to gather so many origin world rocks. Only Primal Chaos Hall Master and other old fellows who had reached the bottleneck could take out such treasures. Naturally, this was under ordinary circumstances. Those like Dongbu Shuang who entered the treasure cove were considered special. I've entered. But can I leave? Dongbu Shuang was not confident. Previously, he could not take down the 12 black water droplets, so how could he bring this ghost diagram sacred wood throne away? Rise! Dongbu Shuang grabbed the armrest of the throne with both hands. He exerted force, and the strength of his Voidwalker body erupted. Hong, the throne did not move at all. It was as if it was connected to the entire palace hall. Dongbu Shuang was slightly unwilling as he waved his hand, causing the 120 layers of dark world to descend. It merely wrapped around the edges of the armrest of the throne. Even though he was not confident, he was afraid of damaging the throne. Nonetheless, reality proved that he was thinking too much. His 120 layers of dark world could hardly be damaged even when they were gathered by the edges of the armrest of the throne. It's useless. Dongbu Shuang lowered his head to look at the throne before looking up at the dark cloud sculpture. One was worth more than 50,000 origin world rocks. And one was worth more than 36,000 origin world rocks. This was most likely the core of one of the 16 treasure coves that Emperor Joyun constructed. As for those at the first and second level, they were merely scraps. No wonder the intelligence reports stated that primal chaos realm giants could not bring away any treasures after entering the third level. Dongbu Shuang muttered inwardly, it seems it is as I guessed. I still have to break the seal left behind by Emperor Joyun. If I can't break it, I can't bring it away. Chapter 878. Dongbu Shuang initially felt an intense surge of emotions. After all, this was a huge treasure cove. But very soon, he regained his calmness because this outcome was within his expectations. Being a Unity Realm expert at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength, even if he entered the 3rd level of Emperor Joyun's treasure cove, it would be hard for him to bring away the treasures. Previously, when he entered the 2nd level, even if he did not wish to enter the 3rd level, he would still have to destroy the small meteorite hill to obtain the treasures. Secondly, he still had the mentality of wishful thinking. If he lost, he would be fated to obtain it. After all, it was an extravagant hope for a Unity Realm expert to obtain such a treasure cove. Perhaps there might be some other treasures. Dongbu Shuang walked within the palace hall. He was carefully inspecting every single ornament. He even inspected the stone slabs on the ground. He discovered several ornaments worth several hundred origin world rocks, but it's a pity he could not take them away. Dongbu Shuang walked to the entrance of the palace hall. He attempted to open the door. The dark gray door was shut. Dongbu Shuang could not open it at all. After a round, he returned to the side of the ghost diagram sacred wood throne. He carefully inspected the throne and the ceiling array before looking at the array formed by the dark cloud carvings on the walls. He wanted to see if he could break the array and obtain the treasures. Time passed. 2 hours, 4 hours, I can't inspect the array of the ghost diagram sacred wood throne. I can only forcefully attack and break the seal once my strength reaches a certain level. Dongbu Shuang thought. He looked at the dark cloud carvings in front of him, and these dark cloud carvings, the engraved patterns are clear in front of me. I can follow them. But they are extremely mysterious, it is impossible to comprehend the method to break them within a short 6 hours. Asterisk 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 First level of Treasure Cove God Pagoda. The Celestial Sword Clan and the grey-robed girl looked at each other from afar. They revealed a grin. The two of them had a tacit understanding. They did not fight against each other because they were not confident. The Celestial Sword Clan was clear of their own strength. As for the grey-robed girl, she felt that the three before her were heaven-defying, and those who stayed on the same level as her might have some absolute moves. It was better for her to be cautious. The two of them actually lived in harmony until now. I wonder how Brother Feishue is doing. The Celestial Sword Clan thought to itself. The three of them are all on the second floor. If they were to fight, the outcome would be unpredictable. Buzz. Spatial fluctuations descended, enveloping both the Celestial Sword Clan and the grey-robed woman. The two of them vanished into thin air. After 3 days were up, the two of them were teleported out. The second level of the Treasure God Pagoda. Undying City Master and the Muscular Man were attacking the meteorite hill in front of them with all their might. Ha ha ha, time is almost up. Undying City Master, your luck this time is just a so-so. The Muscular Man laughed and said, at least I've earned all my losses. You seem to have only obtained one treasure. Undying City Master's face was ice cold. This time around, he was really unlucky. He had only just made a move against Dongbu Shuang, but he was already suppressed. Furthermore, this was because Dongbu Shuang was intentionally hiding his strength. After 2 days of hard labor, all the treasures were taken away by Dongbu Shuang. Luckily, Dongbu Shuang did not kill him. For the remaining 6 hours, he and the Muscular Man were attacking the meteorite hill. The Muscular Man obtained 3 treasures that were worth more than 1,000 Origin World rocks. As for Undying City Master, he only obtained one which was worth more than 200 Origin World rocks. This was merely 20 to 30% of the treasures he had on him before he came. That white-robed man's luck is really good. He managed to enter the 3rd floor. Who knows, he might have obtained some great treasures. Comparing, Undying City Master felt that he might as well not have entered Emperor Joyun's treasure cove. Buzz. Spatial fluctuations descended. The Muscular Man and Undying City Master were teleported out. In the darkness, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. His body was slightly hunched and his eyes were looking ahead. An image appeared in the void in front of him. It was the image of an ancient hall. Inside, a white-robed Dongbu Shuang was looking at the dark cloud sculpture. This little fellow, he is really young. Looking at the aura of his soul, he has cultivated for a short period, yet he has reached such a strength. Amongst the batches of cultivators that entered the treasure cove, he is considered one of the best in terms of comprehension ability. The eyes of the seated figure were faintly brightening. Indeed. On the surface, in terms of comprehension ability, Dongbu Shuang was the fastest to reach the 5th level Star Pagoda strength in the Great Void Heaven Temple. Naturally, the comprehension ability of Sword Master was not any weaker than that of Dongbu Shuang. Even though the Sword Master had cultivated for more than half a cosmos epoch when he came to the Great Void Heaven Temple, he had been cultivating within his hometown cosmos. He did not have any good resources or books to read. He had purely immersed himself in cultivation and reached the primal chaos realm. The moment he arrived at the Great Void Heaven Temple and went into closed-door cultivation, he had directly stepped into the final realm. With such comprehension ability, if he had entered the Great Void Heaven Temple earlier, much less the 5th level Star Pagoda strength, he would have stepped into the primal chaos realm within a short period. But, be it the Sword Master or Dongbu Shuang, both of them had extremely high innate talent and comprehension ability. Coming to the 9-Cloud Great Land, there were not many who could enter the treasure cove of Emperor Joyun. There were none who could compare with Dongbu Shuang. Even though there were primal chaos giants who had entered before, They were all old fellows who had cultivated for an unknown period of time. It was extremely difficult for them to improve further. His potential and comprehension ability are high. The seated figure muttered, more importantly, he isn't a subordinate of Sacred Master. He isn't controlled by Ancestor Mother either. Very good. Dongbua Shuang looked at the dark cloud carvings on the wall in front of him. He had a vague feeling in his heart. It was almost time. The 3 days were up. It's a pity that I can't bring the treasures I saw at the 3rd level of the treasure cove. Dongbua Shuang thought, but thinking about it, I have gained quite a lot from this trip to the treasure cove God Pagoda. And then, a thought flashed in the mind of Dongbua Shuang. Suddenly, he frowned in puzzlement. He looked around him. Why isn't there any movement? According to the information he received, he would be teleported out after the 3 days were up. With his current realm, his perception of time was extremely accurate. The 3 days were up. But there was no spatial fluctuation. Hong Long Long, in the distance, the palace door that he tried to open previously was pushed open with a rumble. Dongbua Shuang was startled. The door is open. He did not hesitate to walk towards the palace door. There was no need for him to worry about the danger. The methods left behind by Emperor Jiuyun wanted to kill him. There was no need for him to use any tricks. He should be able to easily kill him. The 3 days were up and he was not teleported out. Instead, the palace door was opened. Outside the palace door, there was a wide corridor. Dongbua Shuang looked to both sides. The 2 sides of the corridor were relatively deep. This was clearly a huge palace. The previous palace hall was merely a small part of it. Where is this? Didn't they say that the 3rd level of the treasure cove is within the palace hall? Now that I'm outside the palace hall, it seems that this place is very big. Dongbua Shuang felt puzzled. He casually chose a direction and walked towards it. He passed by some other sealed palace halls and even a spacious courtyard. At the center of the courtyard, there was a huge fiery red cauldron. The fiery red cauldron was emitting a surging aura that resembled that of a bird. The pressure it emitted was even more majestic. This pressure had reached the level of Forefather Tian Yu and Sword Master. Chapter 879. Dongbua Shuang looked at the red cauldron and felt the terrifying pressure coming from it. His pupils constricted. Universe-level treasure. And it's probably of a very high level amongst the universe-level treasures. His horizons were limited, however this was the strongest treasure he had ever seen. Its value far exceeded the 12 black water droplets. This is the 3 hell of fire cauldron. A hoarse voice resounded. Shuang turned over. There was a stooped black-robed male walking over from the distant corridor. This stooped male's cold eyes were staring at that huge cauldron. He continued, its origins are unknown. It was obtained by my master, Monarch 9 Cloud, during the primitive ancient sacred world era. Even after he died, my master could not unravel the true profound mysteries behind this 3-fire prison realm's cauldron. Even the name of this huge cauldron was only known from Sacred Master. It is also the main reason why my master fell. Dongbua Shuang was shocked. This cauldron was the main reason why Emperor Jiuyun died? Ever since the Saint Master found out that my master had this cauldron, he came to ask for it. Only when he spoke did my master find out the true name of this cauldron. Obviously, the Saint Master knew the history of this cauldron and its secrets. The crooked black-robed man laughed coldly. Unfortunately, the Saint Master was too tyrannical. As the undisputed strongest warrior of the primitive ancient saint world era, the conditions he gave my master were too low. Why would my master agree to it? Hence, the Saint Master went against my master time and time again. In the final battle, the Saint Master unleashed all of his strength, mainly targeting my master. My master was heavily injured and while he managed to escape, he died very quickly. The black-robed man's hoarse voice was filled with hatred. Unfortunately, the Saint Master always wanted this cauldron, yet he never got it. Dongbua Shuaying's heart tightened as he heard this. Saint Master, even though almost all the ultimate beings had a grudge against him, he was still the most dazzling. He stood at the top and looked down on all the other ultimate beings. He monopolized the strongest of the 5 great sacred worlds, the ancient sacred world, and single-handedly forced the other 3 sacred worlds to join forces. As for Ancestor Mother, even though he created the Ancestor Mother religion and was ranked in the top 3 in terms of strength, he could not compare with Sacred Master. Holy Lords were existences that completely surpassed all other ultimate existences. The feud between the Saint Lord and Emperor Jiuyun, and the Saint Lord wants the 3 fire prison realms cauldron? Dongbua Shuang muttered inwardly, such a huge secret, and you are telling me, a Unity Realm brat? Even the Great Void Heaven Temple's forefather Tian Yu and the Sword Master were weaker than Emperor Jiuyun in terms of strength, let alone the Holy Lord. According to the information he received, the division of power between ultimate existences. Saint Lords were the undisputed strongest, the first level. Next were Ancestor Mother, Jie Zhu, Wu Zhu, Blade Emperor, Devil Mountain Primogenitor, and a few others who were at the second level. The fallen Emperor Jiuyun was also at the second level. The majority of other cosmos gods like Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, Void Primogenitor, Ancestor Bone, Junyi Fazu, and many others were at the third level. Of which one was slightly special, and that was Myriad Realm Tavern Master. Because he had many avatars, nobody could kill him. Nobody was willing to become enemies with him, and he was considered the most unique cosmos god. Do you know why I am telling you these? The black-robed male stooped. His cold eyes stared at Dongbua Shuang. His hoarse voice was filled with resentment and killing intent, because Master hates Sacred Master the most. Even if he dies, he will deal with Sacred Master. Dongbua Shuang could vaguely see that this black-robed male should be a puppet life form. Even a puppet life form was filled with hatred and killing intent. One could see how much his master, Emperor Jiuyun, hated Sacred Master. Since Master is dead, he needs those who came after him to help him. The black-robed male said, and you are one of them. Me? Dongbua Shuang was stunned. Me, deal with Sacred Master? Senior, aren't you overestimating me? That was Sacred Master. Almost all final realm existences had enmity with him. He was the most dazzling existence in existence. Even if he was more confident of himself, and even thought of himself becoming a final realm existence in the future, he dared not think of dealing with Sacred Master. After all, even Ancestor Mother, World Master, Wu Zhu, and the others could not do it. It is naturally impossible for you to do it alone. You are just one of them. The black-robed male sneered with a hoarse voice, why do you think Master left behind the treasures? Is he really going to spread them out? You are wrong. The first and second level of the Treasure Cove God Pagoda are filled with ordinary treasures that aren't worth mentioning to Master. They are meant to attract experts from the outside world. And the third level of the Treasure Cove God Pagoda is the crucial point. This third level is located in the space where all the third-level experts of the 16 treasure coves will be teleported here. The black-robed male casually said, it is just one of the 16 palace halls in Master's cultivation palace. The treasures within the 16 palace halls are extremely precious. Even though ordinary primal chaos existences can enter, they can't bring them away. They are either extremely powerful primal chaos existences or have extremely high attainments in certain aspects. The black-robed male said, those who can take away the treasures on the third level are also helpers, chosen by Master. As for you, you are also one of the helpers. Dongbua Shuang felt puzzled. Previously, I did not even take away a single treasure from the palace hall. How can I be qualified to be chosen as a helper? I have my eyes on your potential. The black-robed male looked at Dongbua Shuang. He grinned. It was just that his smile was horrifying. My Master's treasure cove has existed for so long. You should be the one with the highest potential and comprehension ability that I have met. Those primal chaos existences have cultivated for so long, and it is hard for them to improve any further. Some can't even take away the treasures on the third level. They are too weak and aren't qualified to be helpers. Only those primal chaos existences who could take away the treasures are of some use. As for you, your potential and comprehension ability are extremely high. That is why I have chosen you as my helper. The black-robed male coldly said, all the helpers who are chosen will have the same conditions. Kill a saint from the ancient sacred religion, and you will get a treasure worth 10,000 origin world rocks from me. The more you kill, the more treasures you will get. Kill 50 saints or cosmos gods from the ancient sacred religion, and all the treasures left behind by Master will be yours. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. He felt helpless. Kill saints? Who were saints? They were primal chaos giants. Like the 7-star oceanic sacred world, the Great Void Heaven Temple had 12 primal chaos giants. Primogenitor Devil Mountain and Jade Light Sacred Territory had quite a few primal chaos giants too. There were also many primal chaos giants who were not willing to join the holy grounds. In total, there were only a few dozen primal chaos giants in the entire 7-star oceanic sacred world, and not more than 150 is considered a huge loss to the ancient sacred religion. Dongbua Shuang thought, as for cosmos gods? Sacred Master has offended too many final realm existences, and only a single cosmos god chose to join him. If he were to kill this cosmos god, it would be equivalent to breaking an arm of Sacred Master. I can't kill saints. Dongbua Shuang said. You can't kill them now, but you can in the future. The black-robed male said, according to the evaluation of the outer world, you can kill 5th-level Star Pagoda experts from the ancient sacred religion. 10 of them are equivalent to a saint. If you are to kill 4th-level Star Pagoda experts, 100 of them are equivalent to a saint. Once the number is reached, you will be able to obtain 1 trillion origin world rocks. The more you kill, the more you will get.
The eyes of the black-robed male were filled with madness. Furthermore, if you kill 50 saints or that cosmos god, this 3-fire prison realm's cauldron and all other treasures will belong to you. Do you believe that I will definitely help Emperor Jillian? Dongbua Shuang asked. I've investigated using a secret technique. You aren't a believer of the ancient sacred religion. The black-robed male nonchalantly said, currently, those who aren't from the ancient sacred religion are practically enemies with the sacred master. Furthermore, I'm only using the treasures for you to do things for me. It's a fair trade. All right. Dongbua Shuang understood in his heart. The treasures at the 3rd level of the treasure cove were definitely hard to obtain. Because if they could be easily taken away, what treasures could be used to attract helpers?
Chapter 880. The black-robed man stooped. He waved his hand and threw a talisman to Dongbua Shuang. Refine this talisman. Only you can use it. When you kill enough higher-ups of the ancient sacred religion, you can activate the talisman within the 9-cloud Great Land and be teleported to this palace. You can then ask me for treasures of corresponding value. Dongbua Shuang received it and immediately refined it. Follow me. The black-robed man turned around and walked deeper into the palace along the corridor. Dongbua Shuang followed behind. They arrived at a hidden staircase in the palace. They walked down the staircase and finally entered a hidden cultivation room. This is the cultivation room that Master uses. The black-robed man entered the cultivation room. Dongbua Shuang followed behind. With a glance, the cultivation room was huge. It was comparable to the Great Void Heaven Temple's Myriad Elephant Palace Hall. At the frontmost part of the cultivation room, there were many bookshelves. The bookshelves were filled with large amounts of original books. The bookshelves occupied about 30% of the entire cultivation room. Behind him, it was empty. There was only a praying mat placed on the ground. The bookshelves are filled with books that Master has collected and created. The black-robed man pointed to the praying mat Master would usually cultivate here. You can learn all the books in this cultivation room. If you can learn all of them, you can also impart them if you want. The black-robed man said, this is a benefit that every helper has. When you are done learning, and you plan to leave, just tell me. I will send you out of this place. Saying that, the black-robed man turned and walked out. I can hear whatever you say in this palace, the black-robed man said before walking out of the cultivation room. Only Dongbua Shuang was left in the cultivation room. Dongbua Shuang did not hesitate to walk towards the bookshelves. He began flipping through these books. These were the crystallization of the wisdom of senior cultivators. Since they could be collected by Emperor Jiuyun, they would definitely not be ordinary. Woo! Dongbua Shuang looked at the first book in his hands. It was an ancient cultivation classic called The Eye of Disintegration. If an ancient cultivator's awakened talent at the beginning of cultivation was related to the eyes and inclined to attack, they could cultivate in the direction of the Eye of Disintegration. Some ancient cultivators cultivated purely based on luck, and those with powerful legacies would also deliberately guide their own evolution. The innate talent was very important, but the acquired guidance and cultivation were also very important. This Eye of Unraveling was one of the schools of ancient cultivation at the cosmos god level. Both eyes shot out the light of disintegration. A single glance was enough to disintegrate an entire cosmos. Even cosmos gods did not dare to use their bodies to resist against it. Dongbua Shuang looked at it carefully. Close to half the books here were related to ancient cultivation. At the very least, they could be cultivated to the primal chaos realm. Some could be cultivated to the cosmos god level. In terms of strength, innate talent was very important, and so was acquired cultivation. Both had to be perfect enough to achieve great things in the end. The Sacred Lord was the strongest ancient cultivator. Maybe I can cultivate in ancient cultivation too. Dongbua Shuang had read through too many ancient cultivation classics. He could not help but have this thought. It was normal for experts to cultivate in different cultivation systems. For instance, the peak of the bloodline cultivation system was the primal chaos realm giant. They would definitely have to cultivate in other systems. Usually, those who chose to cultivate in different systems would do their best to make up for their weaknesses. Dongbua Shuang did not think about it in the past. But now that he had gotten his hands on so many ancient cultivation techniques, if he was lucky, he would have a great talent. Hence, it was worth spending his effort. I'm not in a rush. Wait till I've settled the matters regarding Jing Qiu and the others. When I have sufficient time and energy, I'll try cultivating again. Dongbua Shuang thought. There were quite a few cultivators in the Great Void Heaven Temple who cultivated in ancient cultivation too. There was no need to talk about true God disciples. Even primal chaos realm giants like Inquisitive Sky Hall Master was someone who cultivated in ancient cultivation. Hence, he could easily investigate anything that happened in the Endless Region and teleport Dongbua Shuang to the Nine-Cloud Great Land. This was a talent that leaned towards supporting in ancient cultivation. Nonetheless, it was heaven-defying. After all, the primal chaos void was too vast. The distance from the seven-star oceanic sacred world to the nine-cloud great land was too far. It was hard for cosmos gods to rush over, yet Inquisitive Sky Hall Master could easily send others over. The methods of ancient cultivation were indeed enviable. After spending half a year, Shuang had flipped through all the books. Of which, there were only a few books that were helpful to his current cultivation. After all, at his current realm, it was too difficult to find a book that was similar to his path. But it had broadened his horizons. He even had some conjectures about the reason why he could not display the second style of Dark World, Sky Punishment Edge. It should most likely be related to the realm of the heart. Dongbua Shuang guessed. Because in one of the absolute art books he read, there was a similar description, third stage, Nirvana Flame. If one had not reached the third realm of the heart, his heart realm would not be sufficient. Even if he comprehended all the bottlenecks, he would still be unable to display the Nirvana Flame. In order to reach the third realm of the heart, one had to carefully comprehend the meaning of Nirvana. This absolute art had a similar situation. If one's heart realm was not sufficient, one could not display it even if he comprehended it. Just like how mortals drew, if they did not have a suitable heart realm, they would not be able to produce a painting of a sufficient level. But to reach the third realm of the heart, Dongbui Shuang was pondering. He was even pondering over the meaning of nirvana described in that absolute art. According to the description in that absolute art, only when one had great benevolence and devotion, and was willing to sacrifice for the masses without any distracting thoughts, could one comprehend the meaning of nirvana amidst the sacrifice, reviving from the dead. This was also the prerequisite for grasping the heart realm of the nirvana flame. Dongbui Shuang sat there for a long time to no avail. He could not help but shake his head. This third level of the heart realm could not be forced. It's time to leave. Dongbui Shuang stood up. Since he had read through all the manuals, it was time for him to leave. Dongbui Shuang looked around the training room, looking at every corner in detail. His gaze also landed on some of the scars on the walls. Many of these scars had stopped halfway through. There was actually not a single finished product. Emperor Jiuyun was cultivating here. He should have comprehended something and thus casually drew on the walls. Dongbui Shuang guessed. It was very common for experts to casually draw on the walls of a cultivation ground. Some of the truly completed absolute arts should have been written into an ancient book. These incomplete ones were casually left on the walls. Before I leave, I should take a look at these scars once more. Perhaps I might be able to gain something from them. Dongbui Shuang looked at them carefully. The more he looked, the more he frowned. Because it was too difficult. Even Emperor Jiuyun had not completed some absolute arts. Naturally, they were extraordinary. As he looked at the scars, he could occasionally understand some of them, but it was just a superficial understanding. As Dongbui Shuang looked at the scars, he walked along the walls. Suddenly, he came to a corner and looked at the continuous scars on the wall. There were a total of 4 scars. The first 3 were complete while the 4th was incomplete. Clearly, this was an incomplete absolute art. Dongbui Shuang looked at the 4 scars in front of him. When in front of Dongbui Shuang, countless threads appeared, forming a complicated 3D array. Clearly, Dongbui Shuang was trying to decipher it. Dongbui Shuang had been calm all this while. But as he continued to study it, a look of astonishment appeared on his face. This is, Dongbui Shuang waved his hand, and the praying mat in the distance flew over to him. He sat down cross-legged and started to study the array. This seems to be related to my Voidwalker cultivation system. Asterisk asterisk. Chapter 881. There were 4 diagrams at the corner of the cultivation room. 3 of them were complete, and 1 was incomplete. At the same time, they were even more complex. Dongbui Shuang naturally focused on comprehending the first diagram, which he could slightly understand. This is an incomplete absolute art that is related to the void. The 3-dimensional array diagram in front of Dongbui Shuang had many threads dancing. The array diagram was becoming more complex and exquisite. This first diagram requires an extremely deep understanding of the void. But I am a voidwalker, and most primal chaos giants cannot compare to me in this aspect. This was the truth. Some primal chaos giants cultivated the Devour class system, some cultivated the Bloodline system, and some cultivated the Ancient cultivation system. Their understanding of the void was indeed very low. The reason why they could tear a time-space tunnel in the sacred world was because their law domain could form a miniature cosmos. Under that miniature cosmos domain, their control of the void was extremely strong. That was why they could reach this stage. It was not because they had a profound understanding of the void. But the Voidwalker lineage was different. This lineage cultivated by absorbing the primal chaos void energy. The Walker's hidden secret was a cultivation technique that allowed one to have a deeper understanding of the void. The more one cultivated it, the deeper one's understanding of the void would be, and the stronger their control would be. Thus, these 4 diagrams left behind by Emperor Jiuyun might have a high threshold, but Dongbui Shuang soon delved into it. It is actually from a different direction. As Dongbua Shuang gradually comprehended it, he began to feel astonished. It is actually the complete opposite of the Voidwalker system. The Voidwalker system was considered to be a complete control of the void. And this diagram in front of him seemed to be dissecting the void, and was continuously researching that smallest structure of the void. The smallest structure of the void? Dongbua Shuang pondered. Wang. He was also observing the void. The seemingly empty space in front of him was rapidly expanding under his observation. Magnifying, countless surging energy appeared in the void. This was the world energy that permeated the entire place. This energy was formed from countless tiny particles. They were like porridge, and they densely covered every single part of the void. Magnify again. Dongbua Shuang delved deeper into it. Hua! The countless particles that were originally very densely packed together now looked as big as a planet in his eyes. The distance between these particles was also very large, and it was completely empty. Bigger. Dongbua Shuang stared at the empty space between the countless particles. According to the first of the 4 diagrams left behind by Emperor Jiuyun, he had to study the smallest structure of the void. Dongbua Shuang tried his best to observe, but he could not go any deeper. To be able to observe to this extent, it was already considered that his control over the void was extremely high. Looks like I'll have to make use of the profoundness of this painting. Dongbua Shuang studied the painting attentively. Time seemed to pass very quickly while he was comprehending. Dongbua Shuang did not know how much time had passed. Diagrams kept appearing in his eyes, and they were getting more and more abstruse. Hua! Under the observation of Dongbua Shuang's eyes, even though the distance between the countless heaven and earth energy particles was huge previously, it was completely empty, and he could not see anything. But at this moment, this empty space was magnified rapidly. Actually, rather than saying that he was observing with his eyes, it was because after comprehending the painting, his soul's perception had gotten deeper. What his soul could perceive was equivalent to what his eyes could see. The distance between the countless particles had already become boundless. Dongbua Shuang could vaguely see a blurry existence within. It was as though it was a boundless black cloth. The void was essentially a boundless black cloth. That's not right. I have yet to fully comprehend this painting. Clearly, my understanding of the void is not deep enough. Dongbua Shuang continued to comprehend. At this moment, he was a little agitated. He could vaguely feel that he was touching upon some unknown and mysterious side of the world. There was passion. Dongbua Shuang put in all his effort to comprehend the void. After an unknown period of time, he was stuck so many times that he had to switch back to researching the walker's hidden secret. He wanted to gain some insights from the walker's hidden secret before trying to comprehend the first painting. Unknowingly, his comprehension of the walker's hidden secret had already reached the 40th level. It was too difficult to raise it any further. From the 40th level to the 41st level was a qualitative improvement after stepping into the primal chaos realm. Hence, the profoundness of the array diagram of the walker's hidden secret had also undergone a qualitative change. Because his understanding of the void was sufficiently high. And because his comprehension ability was extremely high. With the guidance of Emperor Jiuyun's complete first painting, in addition to his surging passion, Dongbua Shuang finally saw the light and completely comprehended the first painting. Just like how an ordinary mortal could see further with a pair of binoculars, Dongbua Shuang's understanding of the void became deeper after comprehending the first painting. Originally, the void in his eyes was extremely small. Now, he could see a blurry and boundless black cloth. At this moment, this black cloth rapidly became clearer under his observation. Furthermore, it was magnified by more than 100 million times. Suddenly, Dongbua Shuang saw many densely packed black particles. These black particles formed many layers of black cloth. Many layers of vast and boundless black cloth were stacked on top of each other, forming the core existence of the void. Dongbua Shuang vaguely understood with a single glance. Teleportation, tearing out a time-space tunnel, actually, they should be formed by relying on this core black cloth. It's just that in the past, he knew how to use it, but he did not understand the fundamental reason. Those primal chaos giants purely relied on the miniature cosmos domain to forcibly control the void. Like the previous Dongbu Shuang, he relied on his overall control of the void. Even if he comprehended the laws and profound mysteries of the Tao of Void, he could only control the laws and profound mysteries. But he did not truly discover that the laws and profound mysteries were actually controlling these black cloth. These black particles. Dongbu Shuang looked at the countless black particles that formed the black cloth. From what he could see, every single black particle was several times bigger than a watermelon in the eyes of ordinary people. These black particles were not solid. Instead, they were like spheres condensed from black fog. At the center of these black fog spheres, there was a dark hole. It was like a passage that led to an unknown place. This void is extremely small. Where does the hole at the center of these black particles lead to? Dongbu Shuang felt puzzled and nervous. He was clear how difficult it was to observe the hole of these black particles. The difficulty of this first diagram left behind by Emperor Jiuyun was not any weaker than the second style of the Dark World, the Sky Punishment Edge. Because of the Voidwalker lineage's understanding and control of the void, he had cultivated the Walker's hidden secret to the 40th level. With this as his foundation. Furthermore, even with the complete first diagram left behind by Emperor Jiuyun, he still spent 60 million years before grasping it. Let's see where it leads to. Dongbu Shuiying's perception permeated through the whole of the black particles. Chapter 882. At the center of the sphere where the black fog condensed, there was a dark hole that seemed like a passage. When Dongbu Shuiying's perception permeated in, he could not help but tremble. Oh my God! Dongbu Shuiying muttered to himself. He was stunned. He was stunned. Even with his current heart realm, he was completely stunned at this moment. Even if he saw Emperor Jiuyun reviving and the death of Sacred Master, he would at most be shocked and not completely stunned. But at this moment, what his perception saw through the black particle hole had completely stunned him. This was an existence that was hard to describe. Shuiying's perception was barely able to observe it through the hole. At the same time when he observed it, because his perception had touched this region, he could naturally see the boundless region. He saw many other holes leading to this place. Through those holes, Dongbu Shuiying could see other regions of this palace. There were many halls, and there were treasures hidden in those halls. Even the place where that stooped puppet life form usually stayed. Furthermore, outside the palace. On the vast nine-cloud great land, Dongbu Shuiying's perception could see through the indescribable region. Through those holes, he could see the cities on the nine-cloud great land. He could even see the endless primal chaos void beyond the nine-cloud great land. The further he was, the further the hole was from him. He could barely see it. 7-star oceanic sacred world. Dongbu Shuiying could see it too. Even though the 7-star oceanic sacred world was very far from him, because the sacred world was too big, there were many holes leading to it. Through those holes, he could vaguely see the vast 7-star oceanic sacred world. Dongbu Shuiying even understood in his heart. As long as he could connect two holes together to form a passage, he could directly travel from one to the other. For instance, he could directly travel from the 9-cloud great land to the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world. I can do this. Dongbu Shuiying felt startled. Even the majority of cosmos gods could not penetrate through such a great distance. Usually, only a few ancient cultivators like Inquisitive Sky Hall Master and Ancestor Desert could do it. This was the talent of ancient cultivators. There was no point in being envious. Be that as it may, Dongbu Shuiying was like the Inquisitive Sky Hall Lord, Ancestor Desert and other ancient cultivators. He could connect any two particle holes to form a passage to a faraway place. However, there is an invisible barrier around Emperor Jiuyun's cave mansion. Dongbu Shuiying noticed it as well. An invisible barrier enveloped all the corresponding black particles in this cave abode. He could not connect to the particle voids outside at all from inside the cave abode, which meant that neither Patriarch Desert nor the Lord of Inquisitive Sky could enter Emperor Julian's cave abode. Inside Emperor Julian's cave abode, if the golem creature didn't voluntarily send them out, they wouldn't be able to leave. You're right. For me to be able to do this, it's also because I've learned the first of the 4 diagrams. Emperor Julian's attainments in this aspect definitely far surpass mine. Dongbo Shuang thought, his cavern dwelling even has the 3 fire prison realms cauldron, and Sacred Master should want to get it. Yet no one has managed to bring it away. Clearly, it is an extremely difficult task to find this place and enter. Dongbo Shui Ying's conjecture was indeed true. Emperor Julian was ranked at the 2nd level amongst final realm existences. In terms of attainments in the void, he was much higher than Sacred Master. Even though Sacred Master was the strongest, it did not represent that he was strong in every aspect. At least in the void aspect, Emperor Julian had surpassed him. He was even stronger than the current Void Primogenitor. Void Primogenitor was currently at the 3rd level. Forefather Tianyu, Sword Master, and the majority of Cosmos gods were at the 3rd level. But what kind of place is the region that the Black Particle Hole passage leads to? Dongbo Shuang was too startled. He was even stunned the first time he saw it. Because when his perception reached that region, he could see that the black particle holes were connected to that region, allowing him to see the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world. I do not know how fortunate I am to be able to obtain this incomplete absolute art created by Emperor Julian, allowing me to see that region that is hard to describe. Dongbo Shuang exclaimed. This feeling. It was like a 2-dimensional life form looking at a 3-dimensional world. A piece of paper was like a 2-dimensional world. The circles, triangles, squares, and other 2-dimensional existences within this paper only had length and width. They did not have height. Hence, they could only see other 2-dimensional life forms around them. The moment their front was blocked, they would not be able to see the other 2-dimensional life forms behind them. But with height, they would be able to break through the 2-dimensional world and enter the 3-dimensional world. With height, they could look down on the entire piece of paper. They could see every single part of the paper. The further the distance, the more blurred it would be. This was what Dongbo Shuang felt at this moment. When he peered through the black particle holes in the void, he could see a region. This region was to the world Dongbo Shuang was at. It was like a 3-dimensional world to a 2-dimensional world. When Dongbo Shuiying's perception entered this world, he could see every single part of the world he was at. 9-cloud great land, primal chaos void, and the distant 7-star oceanic sacred world. He could see them all. This was what it meant to be high up on the world level. Even powerful cosmos gods could not teleport through an ultra-long distance like Ancestor Desert or Inquisitive Sky Hall Master. Even though they were incomparably powerful life forms in this world, they still existed in this world. They did not enter the higher dimension. Dongbo Shuang might be weak, but he was currently able to see the higher dimension. It was like a 2-dimensional life form suddenly looking up, into the 3-dimensional world. Dongbo Shuang had done it. Amidst the ancient cultivation, there was a group of experts who were talented in this aspect. Ancestor Desert and the others could do it too. But they could only look up to the higher dimension. They discovered the existence of the higher dimension and could only look up at it. I can see it. I can see the higher dimension. I wonder when I can enter the higher dimension with my body. Dongbo Shuang thought. He could sense it. It was already hard for his perception to enter. His body was completely rejected. If he wanted to reach other places, he would have to connect 2 holes and follow the passage to another location. He could not enter the higher dimension from the start to the end. The ancient cultivation is formidable. Dongbo Shuang sighed inwardly. He had the foundation of the Voidwalker system and Emperor Julian's absolute art to guide him. With his current comprehension ability, he was fortunate enough to reach this stage and see the higher dimension. And there was a group of ancient cultivators who could do it too. There were even some ancient cultivators who could see part of the future, and some who could slightly alter the past. These were techniques that even cosmos gods did not have. Hence, the ancient cultivation system was indeed a unique cultivation system. Experts were heaven-defying at times. I have yet to cultivate the ancient cultivation system, yet I have achieved it. I have to thank Emperor Julian for creating this incomplete absolute art. Dongbo Shuang looked at the 4 diagrams on the wall. He was clear that his greatest gain from coming to Emperor Julian's cavern dwelling were these 4 diagrams. I'll have to trouble Senior to send me out. Dongbo Shuang suddenly said with a clear voice. All right. Once you have killed enough higher-ups from the ancient sacred religion, come over to my place. The treasures of the monarchs are always waiting for you to exchange for them. The puppet lifeform's voice sounded. Following that whine, a spatial fluctuation descended. Dongbo Shuang was directly teleported out. Hua! In a vast wilderness, Dongbo Shuang appeared. Standing in this wilderness, Dongbo Shuang revealed a grin. He immediately attempted to see that mysterious region once again. He then connected the 2 holes to form a passage. It might be slightly more troublesome if he wanted to send others, but it was much easier for him to do it himself. Who? The space in front of him was distorting. Dongbo Shuang took a step into it, and the distorted space rapidly returned to normal. And at another location on the 9-cloud Great Land, half a continent away, Dongbo Shuang walked out from the distorted space. It is indeed mysterious. Dongbo Shuang praised. But I can't find the cavern dwelling of Emperor Julian. Dongbo Shuang had previously observed the cavern dwelling through the mysterious region, and knew where it was located. But now that he observed it again, he could not find it. It seemed to be completely hidden. Emperor Julian's techniques were clearly much more profound. Who? Dongbo Shuang took a step, causing the space to distort. Following that, he disappeared. The next time he appeared, he was in a primal chaos void that was incredibly far away from the 9-cloud Great Land. Dongbo Shuang stood in the primal chaos void. He understood that his rewards this time were too great. It made him one of the few envied by countless cultivators. Ancestor Desert, Inquisitive Sky Hall Master, and the others were envied. Because even if they stayed in their territories for long periods of time, there would always be experts asking them for help, sending them to some faraway places. Every single time, the fees would not be small. Hence, all of them were extremely wealthy. Secondly, this sort of escaping technique was heaven-defying. If they wanted to leave, not many could stop them. Let's return to my hometown to take a look. After gaining the ability to travel to any place, what Dongbo Shuang wanted to do the most was to return to his hometown cosmos and see his loved ones. Who? Dongbo Shuang took a step, causing the void to distort. He then disappeared. Chapter 883. The 9-cloud Great Land was extremely far away from his hometown cosmos, and primal chaos realm giants would have to spend 10 million years to travel there. Who? In the blink of an eye, a region within the primal chaos void distorted. Dongbo Shuang walked out from within. Hometown cosmos. Dongbo Shuang looked towards a direction. Because the distance was too far, his teleportation had deviated slightly. But using void penetration within the primal chaos void was much faster than within the sacred world. Who? In a breath of time, Dongbo Shuang arrived in front of a huge cosmos. The cosmos would at most allow ruler realm outsiders to enter. As for void gods, they would definitely be lifeforms within this cosmos. Powerful external lifeforms could not enter the cosmos, unless they were like Voidwalker Gu Qi who had the power to destroy a cosmos. The cosmos could not stop them and could only allow them to enter. But destroying a cosmos was something the current Dongbo Shuang could not do. See, a crack appeared in the cosmos membrane. Dongbo Shuang easily flew in. His hometown cosmos was still within this epoch, and he had not been expelled. In his hometown Cosmos, that wild black dog that was lying on the grass at the starting ground suddenly opened its eyes. Looking into the distance, its dog face revealed a look of astonishment. It muttered in human language, "Dongbu Shuang, this brat, has just left for how long before he returned? He is already at the Unity Realm." Not only is he at the Unity Realm, he is also an Inner Hall Elder. The white-haired old man appeared and said, "This starting ground was constructed by forefather Tianyu. When members of the Great Void Heaven Temple came to this cosmos, the starting ground would be able to sense their identities." Inner Hall Elder? Doesn't that mean that his strength is close to mine? The wild black dog was startled. Strictly speaking, it was at the 6th level Star Pagoda strength. But it had the geographical advantage at the starting ground. The laws and profound mysteries of the arrays constructed by forefather Tianyu were amazing. The wild black dog was reinforced by the arrays, allowing it to unleash strength at the 7th level Star Pagoda strength. Even so, it was suppressed by Sword Master in the past. With such a fast cultivation speed, he would most likely become a Hall Master of my Great Void Heaven Temple in the future. The white-haired old man praised. Dongbu Shuang stared at the vast star region that was emanating a boundless aura of destruction. The entire star region was barren, and not a single weak life could be found. Only a dark red-robed man was among them. Now, the dark red-robed man sensed something and looked over. Through the distance of space, he saw the white-robed young man standing outside the star region. Snow Eagle. Blood Blade, who was in the middle of his cultivation, was shocked. He immediately stopped his cultivation and took a step forward, traversing through space to reach Dongbu Shuang. "Snow Eagle, you're back." Blood Blade couldn't believe his eyes. Because time was too short. It would take a long time to travel from his home cosmos to the 7-star oceanic sacred world. "You're back." Dongbu Shuang smiled. "It's only been a few 100 million years, and you're already back. Furthermore, I can't see through your current strength." Blood Blade was shocked. Dongbu Shuang smiled. "Master, I'm lucky. Not long after leaving my home cosmos, I encountered a void corridor, which allowed me to meet the devil ancestor of my Great Void Heaven Temple. This allowed me to reach the Great Void Heaven Temple early. Although it's only been a few 100 million years, in reality, I've already cultivated for billions of years with the help of the Great Void Heaven Temple's Hall of Time. That's why I have such strength. Master, with your perception and potential, once you enter the Great Void Heaven Temple, your strength will definitely soar." Void Corridor? Blood Blade was shocked. "You actually encountered a void corridor?" He knew the route to the 7-star oceanic sacred world, and he also knew that there would be unknown dangers along the way. The void corridor was something that Bloodshed God Emperor would have a headache over. Because the moment he entered it, although the possibility of dying was low, the distance to the 7-star oceanic sacred world would be much further. His home cosmos was considered very close to the 7-star oceanic sacred world. Through the void corridor, he might be able to travel 10 to 100 times further. It was practically impossible to travel there. That was the reality. Dongbu Shuang had arrived close to the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. "Didn't you meet the devil ancestor too?" Dongbu Shuang chuckled. Fortunately. Blood Blade sighed. "It is indeed dangerous to leave my home and travel through the primal chaos void. To the current me, it is very easy." Dongbu Shuang said, "Master, by then, I'll personally send you to the Great Void Heaven Temple." Blood Blade nodded with a smile. "Haha, it seems that you have cultivated for billions of years, and your strength is much deeper than before. Are you prepared to guide the other rulers? They are all stuck at the bottleneck and could not become void gods." A month later. "I'll invite everyone to my Black Fog Seas Dong Bo Monarch residence," Dongbu Shuang said. "All right." Blood Blade was relatively happy. He was in a good mood. Actually, he was extremely worried when Dongbu Shuang left his hometown cosmos. After all, Dongbu Shuang was too weak in the past, much weaker than him, Blood Blade. But now, the other party was much stronger than him. But Blood Blade remained calm. Firstly, this disciple of his had a higher comprehension ability and potential than himself. Secondly, Blood Blade felt that he would undergo a metamorphosis after entering the Great Void Heaven Temple. After Dongbua Shuang separated from his teacher, he took a step before arriving in front of a huge starry sky land. This starry sky land was emitting a rolling red light. There was a chain of palaces on it, and many cultivators resided within. Ha ha ha. Dongbua Shuang could not help but laugh when he saw it. On this starry sky land, there was currently a young man wearing a loose gray robe seated cross-legged at the highest point of the palace. There were many disciples listening to him. This kid is not bad. He actually accepted so many disciples. Dongbua Shuang was grinning from ear to ear. After returning to his hometown, he was in an extremely good mood. This was because with his strength, he could easily sense every corner of his hometown cosmos. He instantly discovered that his son, Dongbuyu, had already transcended. Now, he seemed to have become an old ancestor, and was even teaching many disciples. Seeing his son in such a state, Dongbua Shuang was even happier than if he himself had a breakthrough in his cultivation. Dongbua Shuang called out. Dongbuyu, who was seated at the highest point of the palace, was slightly startled. He could not help but tremble. He hurriedly ordered, "All of you can leave." With that, he disappeared into thin air. Although His Highness's disciples were puzzled, they still obediently retreated. In the void, Dongbuyu appeared. When he saw the person in front of him, he could not help but feel excited. "Father. You're back." It was too fast. It was even faster than what he had expected. He had thought that his father would only return when this epic was about to end. Not bad. Dongbua Shuang smiled and praised. When Dongbuyu heard his father's praise, he could not help but smile. "Where's your mother?" Dongbua Shuang asked. "Is she already in a deep slumber?" "It has only been a few 100 million years. Mother is not in a rush to enter a deep slumber. However, she spends most of her time within the Eden world." Dongbuyu said. "She would occasionally come out. However, in a few more years, Mother is preparing to enter a deep slumber. Mother and elder sister are currently in the Emperor residence." Dongbua Shuang nodded lightly. Preparing to enter a deep slumber? Indeed, Jing Qiu had not transcended. "Come, let's go and meet your mother and elder sister," Dongbua Shuang said. Chapter 884. Dongbua Shuang brought Dongbuyu with him. In an instant, they arrived above the Black Fog Sea. Currently, Dongbua Qingyao was in charge of everything in the Emperor residence. Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu, who was invited out of the grotto heaven by her daughter, looked at Dongbua Shuang. She was overjoyed, and all the worries in her heart disappeared. Dongbua Shuang exchanged glances with his wife. Dongbuyu and Dongbua Qingyao exchanged glances as well. Dongbua Qingyao said, "Father, mother, continue chatting. Little brother and I will prepare some food." With that, the siblings left. Only the husband and wife were left in the hall. "I'm back." Dongbua Shuang said softly, "My luck is good. I will be able to get my hands on the treasures I want very quickly. Hence, I came back to take a look." Jing Qiu walked over. "Let's go out for a walk." And then, the husband and wife walked within the Dongbua Emperor residence. They held hands, and everything seemed peaceful. They had cultivated for a long time. Their emotions were naturally hidden deep in their hearts. Back then, you insisted on going out and traveling through the primal chaos void. You, Qingyao, and I were very worried, but we couldn't persuade you. Jing Qiu said. "You know my temper." Dongbua Shuang smiled. "It's good that you're back." Jing Qiu said. "How's your cultivation?" Dongbua Shuang asked. "Tell me about it." The husband and wife began discussing the various problems in their cultivation. The current Dongbu Shui Ying's realm was much higher than before. He was even comparable to the Sword Master back in his hometown Cosmos. Although the Sword Master was at the primal chaos realm back then. In terms of knowledge, the current Dongbu Shui Ying was much more knowledgeable. After all, he had read all the scriptures in the Great Void Heaven Temple's Myriad Hall. He had also read all the scriptures collected by Emperor Julian. His guidance often touched Jing Qiu. I need a portion of Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Those who have it can discuss it in detail. Dongbu Shuang also sent out a message within the Great Void Heaven Temple. At the same time, he also sent out a request to purchase a portion of Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core from the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion. Of course, Dongbu Shuang had always concealed his identity. Others only knew that it was a request from the Great Void Heaven Temple. I hope I can get it as soon as possible. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Because Yu had already transcended, he only needed to prepare a portion of Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core for his wife. His harvest from Emperor Julian's treasure was enough. The only problem now was that there had to be Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Cores to sell. A precious treasure worth around 6,000 Origin World Stones. This kind of precious treasure that was nurtured was extremely rare. It wasn't something that could be bought just because one wanted to. It would be very difficult to find it in the Great Void Heaven Temple. The 7-star Oceanic Pavilion was a superpower that engaged in trading. Once the news was sent out, they should be able to find a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core after some time. The first choice is the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Since I can't find it, I can only thicken my face and ask Forefather Tianyu to help me find it. If I really can't find it, I'll just settle for the next best thing and choose other materials that can aid in cultivation. Dongbu Shuang thought. Something of a higher grade than the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core? There was one. That was the Eternal Heart or Origin World Fruit that could allow one to transcend directly. But those were things that Cosmos gods could hardly obtain. For instance, for the sake of an Eternal Heart, Blade Emperor and Wu Zhu had teamed up to kill a Cosmos god. Blade Emperor and Wu Zhu were both ranked at the second level of Final Realm existences. Hence, even with his current strength, Dongbu Shuang did not dare to have any extravagant hopes. Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core was already good enough. Oh, let me try again. Jing Qiu discovered that her husband would often point out problems and cultivation methods from different perspectives. Time after time, it would stimulate her, igniting the impulse to cultivate in Jing Qiu once again. Jing Qiu. Dongbu Shuang flipped his hand. He took out a total of 100 Origin World rocks. Looking at these rocks that were suffused with strange colors, Jing Qiu felt an intense impulse in her soul. She was starving to the point where she could barely suppress it. There's no need to suppress the impulse in your soul. Just let your soul absorb the energy instinctively. Dongbu Shuang said, take one into your body and slowly absorb it. After absorbing one, take the next. Jing Qiu did not reject. Because she absolutely believed in her husband. Every single Origin World rock that entered her body would naturally be absorbed by her soul, causing Jing Qiu to feel intoxicated. This feeling was wonderful. She spent a total of 3 days or so before she finished consuming the 100 Origin World rocks. It was mainly because her soul was slightly weaker, and it took a long time for her to consume them. Dongbu Shuang watched from the side. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never tasted the taste of Origin World rocks. How is it? Dongbu Shuang waited for his wife to finish absorbing the 100 Origin World rocks before asking. My soul has become much stronger and more stable. Jing Qiu felt startled. It should be able to last at least 500 million years longer than before. Furthermore, the feeling of my soul is very wonderful now, and the effect of my cultivation should be great too. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Letting Stage 4 world deities consume Origin World rocks was a very extravagant matter. Because Origin World rocks were useful even to Cosmos gods. The reason why Dongbu Shuang let his wife consume it was because the origin world rock was relatively gentle, and it was the most comprehensive to the soul. His wife's lifespan would be extended. You should cultivate first and see if you can transcend in one fell swoop. Dongbu Shuang said. If not. After that, there was still the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, which had a much better effect in cultivation. The Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core was worth 6,000 origin world rocks, but to a stage 4 world deity, its effect was comparable to consuming more than 100,000 origin world rocks. It was the most heaven-defying cultivation item known to be a stage 4 world deity. 6,000 origin world rocks. Some of the weaker primal chaos giants would most likely have to sell all their treasures for it. As he helped his wife, Dongbu Shuang was also sorting out his comprehension of cultivation and writing down many absolute arts. The absolute arts he wrote down were from the world deity realm all the way to the void god realm. What realm did the current Dongbu Shuang reach? In terms of strength, he was not any weaker than Ancestor Devil back in his hometown Cosmos. In terms of horizons, he had far surpassed them. Dongbu Shuang had even created an absolute art like the fish dragon kill. Currently, he merely needed absolute arts at the world deity and true god realm, and he could casually create them. In terms of power, they were much stronger than Luminous Sun and Extreme Annihilation Mysterious Body. Some were even stronger than Ancestor Devil's Myriad Devil True Body. Naturally, after Ancestor Devil entered the Great Void Heaven Temple, his current Myriad Devil True Body had become even more amazing. But the Myriad Devil True Body he left behind in his hometown Cosmos was no longer placed in the eyes of the current Dongbu Shuang. After all, he usually cultivated the less than 13 apocalyptic swords, plate ripple diagram, dark world and other Cosmos-ranked absolute arts. Even though there were only 2 styles of the dark world, these 2 styles were indeed Cosmos-ranked absolute arts. It was just that he could not create the subsequent styles. Dongbu Shuang was doing this purely for the sake of the juniors in his hometown. Even though Sword Master and Ancestor Devil had become more amazing after entering the Great Void Heaven Temple, they did not return. This time, Dongbu Shuang came back to sort out the laws and profound mysteries and create many absolute arts so as to guide everyone in their cultivation. In just half a month, Dongbu Shuang had easily written down 28 absolute arts, and the majority of them were stronger than the Myriad Devil True Body. And the grand banquet held in the monarch residence had finally arrived. As it was not a large-scale invitation, there were not many who were qualified to participate in the banquet.
Only Monarch Green, Purgatory Ruler, Pang Yi, Primal Master, Temporal Island Lord, Abyss Primogenitor and other rulers, as well as Paragon Hu Cheng, Senior Brother Hui Ming, Chihua Laozu and some others who were close to Dongbu Shuang. Of course, Dongbu Yu, Dongbu Qingyao and some other good friends were also invited. Star.
Chapter 885. Something huge happened during the banquet hosted by Dongbu Shuang. Primal Master had broken through to the Void God realm. Congratulations, congratulations. Congratulations, Brother Primal. Who would have thought that you have taken this step too? Abyss Primogenitor, Temporal Island Lord, Empress Qianhe, Purgatory Ruler, Monarch Green, Pang Yi and the others were all congratulating Primal Master. The soul of Primal Master had transformed. His aura had become much more vast. He looked at Dongbu Shuang and immediately bowed. It is all thanks to Brother Dongbu. If not for Brother Dongbu's guidance, I really do not know when I would have broken through. I have merely explained a little. Primal Master, the reason why you could break through is because of your previous accumulations. Dongbu Shuang said. Dongbu. Monarch Green could not help but ask, you have only explained half of what you said regarding the void, I have merely gained some insights. I will speak, and you should listen. Dongbu Shuang continued. Monarch Green listened attentively. During this banquet, Dongbu Shuang was being questioned by a group of rulers. Helplessly, Dongbu Shuang specialized in ripple, slaughter, and mirage. He also had a unique understanding of the void. As for other aspects, because he had read through all the books in the Great Void Heaven Temple and Emperor Jiuyin's books, Dongbu Shuang was able to express some simple views. But these were treasures to the rulers who could only cultivate within the cosmos. They felt as though a door had opened in front of them. After the banquet, Dongbu Shuang accompanied his wife Jing Qiu on one side, doing his best to guide her. On the other side, he continued creating absolute arts. In the blink of an eye, more than 1,000 years had passed. Snow Eagle, you actually wrote so many absolute arts? Bloodshed God Emperor was flipping through many books within the library. He could not help but praise, all of them have reached the Void God realm. I've also created several absolute arts, but compared to this one of yours, they are still lacking. So many ultimate arts will be of great help to countless cultivators in the universe. Some of them were written by me, and some of them were obtained by chance, Dongbu Shuang said. In the sacred world, on the nine-cloud great land, he had battled and killed before. For example, after the Valley Master of the Blaze Valley died in battle, he brought along many absolute art manuals with him, all of which belonged to the Blaze Valley. In the Sovereign Lord's treasure trove, he had also forced his enemies to hand over all their treasures. All the treasures naturally included absolute art manuals. There were simply too many manuals, some were about the laws of profound mysteries, and some were about other systems. Dongbu Shuang placed these books into the library as well. In the beginning, I was filled with inspiration, and I wrote down a bunch of ultimate techniques. However, I've written down almost all of my insights over the long years, so it's very difficult to write them down again. Dongbu Shuang shook his head, Master, help me take a look at these manuals. Also, help me come up with some ideas on how to impart them to the cultivators. Alright, wait till I'm done. I'll help you come up with some ideas. Blood Blade was completely engrossed in it. The more he read, the more he sighed. This disciple of his had already surpassed him. Jiya. Dongbu Shuang glanced at Blood Blade, who was immersed in reading. He then pushed open the door of the library and walked into the courtyard. Through the courtyard, he could see his wife Jing Qiu, who was currently practicing her sword. The sword light emitted a cold aura. The region where Jing Qiu was practicing her sword technique was completely covered in frost. She hasn't transcended yet. Dongbu Shuang shook his head, it seems that my guidance and 100 origin world rocks aren't enough. I still need the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. It's a pity that I haven't found one until now. A rare treasure like the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. There were very few of them in the entire 5 great sacred worlds and primal chaos void. Those who owned a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core might be in closed-door cultivation. Naturally, they did not know that Shuang wanted to purchase a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. Let's wait. Just 1,000 years is too short to primal chaos realm giants and cosmos gods. Dongbu Shuang thought, if I can't find any news about the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core in 100 million years, I'll thicken my face and ask Forefather Tianyu for help. Forefather Tianyu was ultimately a palace master. Unless necessary, Dongbu Shuang was not willing to ask Forefather for help. 100 million years was a more suitable period. If he could not find it after such a long period, it would be hard for him to find it normally. It would be easier to find it if he asked Forefather for help given his status. Dongbu Shuaying's expression suddenly changed. He flipped his hand, causing a communication talisman to appear. Suddenly, a piece of news came from within the talisman. 9 Cloud Great Land, Devil Sword Guest is being pursued by Chiwu Palace Master. His life is hanging by a thread. Mission reward, 3 million contribution points. This news contained the current location of Devil Sword Guest. A message asking for help. Dongbu Shuang was startled. On the 9 Cloud Great Land, the 3 great sacred worlds were fighting with the 2 great religions. Of which, the 3 great sacred worlds were helping and supporting one another. Clearly, the internal intelligence system of the Great Void Heaven Temple had determined that Dongbu Shuang was on the 9 Cloud Great Land. Hence, this piece of news was sent to him. Devil Sword Guest, a commander from the Blade Emperor City. He is an expert who has crossed through the 5th level Star Pagoda. Dongbua Shuang thought, Chiwu Palace Master is a famous expert from the ancient sacred religion. He specializes in using poison and is at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. Devil Sword Guest is actually being pursued to the point of asking for help. Accept it. Dongbua Shuang immediately accepted the mission. At the same time, he sent a message over, I am currently in closed-door cultivation and am close to where they are fighting. I should be able to reach in the time taken to brew a cup of tea. This piece of news was first obtained by the internal intelligence system of the Great Void Heaven Temple. It was slightly modified before being sent to Devil Sword Guest. 9 Cloud Great Land. Within one of the mountain forests, there was a tribe that lived here. They cultivated, resisting all sorts of dangers with great difficulty to survive until now. Come, attack me again. On a piece of empty land within the tribe, a green-robed male was currently teaching a group of young people. These young people were all transcendents. There were occasionally deities, but that green-robed male was already a world deity. Suddenly, hoo-hoo. 2 figures flashed in the sky above the mountain forest. Devil Sword Guest, you can't escape. A cold voice reverberated in the sky. At the same time, an unseen aura naturally spread out. It swept across the countless trees in the mountain forest, and also this tribe. The trees in the mountain forest instantly lost their life force. They were all withered, and some trees even drooped down. And the few thousand tribesmen of that tribe did not move at all. They maintained their original appearance, though their eyes were completely dim. They no longer had any spirituality. Clearly, in an instant, these few thousand tribesmen had all died. This was merely the remnant ripple of the poisonous fog released by Chiwu Palace Master. What should I do? Devil Sword Guest was a cold young man with a black sword on his back. He was doing his best to escape, yet Chiwu Palace Master was chasing after him by following the traces left in the void. This caused despair to rise in Devil Sword Guest's heart. I've sought help from the Blade Emperor City. General has also been sent to the 9 Cloud Great Land through an ultra-long distance. But he is too far away from where I am. Even if we travel through the time-space tunnel, it will take close to a day. Devil Sword Guest felt sullen. He was first plotted against and poisoned before being chased after. He had to seek help from his own superpower. But ultra-long-distance teleportation would have some deviation. For a primal chaos expert to travel for a day, this deviation was very normal considering how far the 9 Cloud Great Land was from the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. A day? How can I survive for a day? Devil Sword Guest was anxious. Because he was too anxious. That was why he sought help through the internal system of the 3 great holy grounds. This message was immediately sent to all those who could save him, like the primal chaos giants, or some 5th level Star Pagoda experts on the 9 Cloud Great Land. What? Devil Sword Guest, who was in despair, suddenly revealed a joyous look. Because he had just received a piece of news from the Great Void Heaven Temple. After the time taken to brew a cup of tea, an expert from the Great Void Heaven Temple would arrive at Devil Sword Guest's location. To Devil Sword Guest, he was confident of surviving for the time taken to brew a cup of tea. Chapter 886. Jing Qiu, I'll be going out for a walk. I'll be back soon. Dongbua Shuang said. Jing Qiu continued executing her sword technique. She smiled at her husband. Ever since her husband returned, she was in a good mood. In the future, with her husband accompanying her, even if she could not transcend and die, she was willing. She smiled, all right. Following that, she took a step. Space distorted. Dongbua Shuang entered the distorted space and disappeared from the vicinity. When he appeared again, he was already at the 9 Cloud Great Land. To him who grasped the ultra-long-distance teleportation technique, the vast primal chaos void and the 5 great sacred worlds could be reached in an instant. This made Dongbua Shuang sigh. The number one expert in the void, Emperor Jiuyun, who surpassed the void primogenitor, ultimately failed to complete the four-diagram absolute art. What kind of absolute art was it? At the level of Emperor Jiuyun, the fourth diagram was just an incomplete one. One had to know that the cavern-dwelling array he constructed was something that no one could unravel over the long years. Dongbua Shuang stood in midair. He looked up at the sun in the sky and determined his current location. There is a slight deviation. If I were to use the time-space tunnel, I would most likely need 4 hours to reach. Dongbua Shuang took another step. Space distorted as he directly penetrated through. He arrived at a grassland that was extremely close to Devil's Sword Guest. I am very close. If I am willing, I can reach very quickly. Dongbua Shuang felt helpless, but for me to reach in the time taken to brew a cup of tea is already very coincidental. Dongbua Shuang did not dare to reveal too much of himself. Because there were some primal chaos giants who grasped the ultra-long distance teleportation technique. But Dongbua Shuang had never heard of someone at the Unity Realm who could do so. Maybe his horizons were not broad enough. But he was after all an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple. Since he had never heard of such a technique, it was best for him to keep this a secret. When he became a primal chaos giant, no one would suspect him then. They would naturally think that Dongbua Shuang had cultivated the ancient cultivation system. Dongbua Shuang staggered for the time it took to brew a cup of tea before he finally found the demon swordsman based on the information provided by him. Demon swordsman, no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. This time, you're dead. Chi Wu Palace Master was dressed in a purple robe. His long and narrow eyes were filled with a faint mist. Once again, he controlled from a distance. In the sky around Demon Swordsman, a formation that covered the sky and covered the sun immediately appeared. On the other hand, the Demon Swordsman was desperately trying to escape through the void, occasionally pulling out the black sword on his back. After drawing the sword, he would put the black sword back into its sheath. Every time he unsheathed his sword, the power behind it was immense. Cough cough. Why aren't they here yet? Where are the experts from the Great Void Heaven Temple? The demon swordsman was getting anxious. Oh, Chi Wu Palace Master. A cold voice rang out. A white-robed young man tore through the void and appeared. This time, Dongbua Shuang did not hide his appearance because he usually stayed in his home cosmos. He would only come out if there was something important. Since he would not be staying in the Nine-Cloud Great Land for long, there was naturally no need for him to conceal his identity. Chi Wu Palace Master's expression changed. Dongbua Shuang. Why is he so fast? Even if Inquisitive Sky Hall Master of the Great Void Heaven Temple personally sent him over, given the distance, there should be a huge deviation. Humph! A cold glint flashed in the eyes of Dongbua Shuang. Hua hua hua. Layers of dark world descended, instantly enveloping the distant Chi Wu Palace Master. The layers of dark world descended from the illusory into reality. Chi Wu Palace Master could not even dodge in time. Not good. Chi Wu Palace Master roared fiercely. He transformed into a lizard-like mutated beast that was covered in scales. Peng! 120 layers of dark world exploded at the same time. The true body of Chi Wu Palace Master let out a painful roar. His body was filled with savage wounds from the explosion, but he was still alive. Chi Wu Palace Master's violet eyes glanced at Dongbua Shuang. Without hesitation, he tore through the void and began escaping. How long has this Dongbua Shuang cultivated for? He is actually able to injure a body that I modified using countless hex poisons? Sensing danger, Chi Wu Palace Master immediately chose to escape. Escape? Dongbua Shuang immediately chased after him through the void. Escaping in front of a voidwalker that grasped ultra-long distance teleportation? If he really escaped, that would be a great humiliation. Demon Sword Guest heaved a sigh of relief. He immediately descended to the ground and sat down cross-legged. He began to expel the poison. Previously, he was constantly being chased and was unable to spend too much effort to expel the poison. Now, the hex poison in his body was being expelled continuously. How did Wu Zhu create the witchcraft system? Even his poison is so powerful. Demon Sword Guest muttered. Before the birth of the witchcraft system, there were people who used poison. However, the usage of poison was not as common and powerful as it is now. When the voodoo ancestor was born, the system of witchcraft that he created had already reached an unimaginable level. Formations, weapons refinement, voodoo poison, puppets. He had reached an extremely high level in all of these. The other systems that used poison immediately borrowed the usage of hex poisons from the witchcraft system, causing the name hex poisons to become very common. Some of the weaker cultivators did not really understand what hex poisons meant, and would directly call those who researched poison hex poisons. Who? Demon Sword Guest opened his mouth and spat out a grey mist which dissipated with the wind. Demon Sword Guest's complexion became much better. Although there were still remnants of poison in his body, it was no longer a problem. South Dongbua Shui Ying's figure appeared from the void. Brother Dongbua. Demon Sword Guest hurriedly stood up and said with gratitude, "This time, it's all thanks to Brother Dongbua. Otherwise, this life of mine would have died in the hands of that Chi Wu Palace Master. Humph, this time, I fell into his trap. In the future, I will definitely find an opportunity to get rid of him. Chi Wu Palace Master is already dead." Dongbua Shuang said. Demon Sword Guest was startled. He died. He was too familiar with Chi Wu Palace Master. This was an extremely sinister expert from the ancient sacred religion with an extremely strong life force. He was a hex cultivator and also an ancient cultivator. He had many survival methods. He thought that the reason why Dongbua Shuang returned so quickly was because Chi Wu Palace Master had escaped. Who would have thought that he was killed? How long had it been? He, Demon Sword Guest, was able to survive for so long in the hands of Chi Wu Palace Master even though he was poisoned. Isn't he too strong? Demon Sword Guest did not dare believe it. In just a short while, a famous great expert like Chi Wu Palace Master died just like that? He borrowed external force. Dongbua Shuang explained. He indeed relied on external force. Chi Wu Palace Master's survival methods were too formidable. If he relied on his own strength, he would have to chase for half a day before killing the other party. Dongbua Shuang did not wish to waste any time. Hence, he used the Black Gourd to assist him. With the Black Gourd fireball that reached the 6th level Star Pagoda power, in addition to his own strength, the plate ripple diagram, domain suppression and the multilayered dark world, he was able to kill Chi Wu Palace Master quickly. In a life and death battle, there is no need to rely on external force. Demon Sword Guest added, "I truly admire Brother Dongbua's strength. This time, Brother Dongbua has saved my life again. Go, let's go to my residence. It is very close to here, and I'll entertain Brother Dongbua well. Brother Dongbua, don't reject me. Rejecting me is equivalent to looking down on me." "Alright." Dongbua Shuang immediately agreed when he saw the other party being so passionate. The two of them immediately tore through the void. At that moment. "Stop." Dongbua Shuang and Demon Sword Guest appeared from the void. Demon Sword Guest looked at Dongbua Shuang with puzzlement. "Brother Dongbua, what happened?" Dongbua Shuang was frowning as he looked downwards. His expression was ugly. Chapter 887. There was a tribe living in the valley below. There were tens of thousands of living beings in the tribe. There were 3 true gods and more than 1,000 world deities. The other tens of thousands of people were either deities or transcendents. This was an extremely ordinary tribe on the 9-cloud great land. But at this moment the entire tribe was deathly silent. All living beings were either standing, lying down, or sitting there grabbing onto roasted meat. None of them were injured on the surface, yet their eyes were completely dim. Their souls had been extinguished. Dongbua Shuang was extremely sensitive to his surroundings. He could sense the strands of hex poison aura in the surroundings. It was the hex poison that Chi Wu Palace Master specialized in. Although it was only a very weak aura, even a true god hegemon would instantly perish. If Chi Wu Palace Master deliberately released the hex poison, most void gods at the Unity Realm could not survive against it. Brother Dongbua, are you pitying them? Devil Sword Guest looked downwards before casually chuckling. It's all because Chi Wu Palace Master did not control his hex poison aura when he acted against me. Yet, it affected this tribe. This is the sorrow of the weak. Just a touch and they all died. But now that Chi Wu Palace Master is dead, this tribe can be considered to have taken revenge. Dongbua Shuang looked at the current smile of Devil Sword Guest. He felt slightly uncomfortable. Who? Dongbua Shuang could still sense the traces of battle between both parties in the void. Following along the traces, he said, "Let us go to another location to have a look." Saying that, he brought Devil Sword Guest and teleported. At another location. It was a village living by the lakeside. This village was hidden amidst the lush weeds. It could not be seen from afar. This peaceful and tranquil village had similarly lost its aura of life. Dongbua Shuang looked downwards coldly. This is also a place affected by the battle. Devil Sword Guest shook his head. To Chi Wu Palace Master, he doesn't care about their lives. Who? Dongbua Shuang brought Devil Sword Guest along the traces left behind in the void and headed to another location. At another location, it was another assembly region affected by the battle. He continued to look around. The demon swordsman said at first, but he soon frowned in dissatisfaction. What is this elder Dongbua Shuang of the Great Void Heaven Temple trying to do? Teleport me all the way and look at the areas where the weak ants live? Humph. Firstly, Dongbua Shuang had saved his life. Secondly, the time Dongbua Shuang took to kill Chi Wu Palace Lord was too short, and his strength made him fearful. This caused the demon swordsman to suppress his dissatisfaction. Demon swordsman. Dongbua Shuang floated in the air, looking down at the tribe at the foot of the mountain. Don't you have anything to say? Say what? Demon swordsman laughed. Sigh, they indeed died pitifully. Chi Wu Palace Master is indeed ruthless enough. However, Chi Wu Palace Master has also died. For an upper echelon of the ancient sacred cult to die along with them, it is worth it. Worth it? Dongbua Shuang looked at Demon Swordsman. To the dead, everything is empty. Demon Swordsman frowned. Elder Dongbua, what is the meaning of this? Shuang said with a low voice, Chi Wu Palace Master is chasing after you. You have been escaping all the way. The world is so big, and there are many wilderness, forests, and lakes. You can escape to many places, so why not avoid these tribes? Demon Swordsman and the rest were unable to tear open a spatial tunnel, and could only teleport short distances. Every time they teleported, they would be able to sense the situation at the other location. If you had avoided them slightly, the battle wouldn't have affected them. Dongbua Shuang asked, but you didn't do that. Demon Swordsman was startled. He frowned and had an ugly expression. Elder Dongbua, you did save me, but I also took out Origin World rocks. I believe that the Great Void Heaven Temple will reward you too. These are just some ants that were affected by the battle, and it is because of Chi Wu Palace Master. You are targeting me. Are you purposely trying to make things difficult for me? When Dongbua Shuang heard the word ants, he could not help but understand the other party's mentality. In this vast land, there are very few gathering areas. Dongbua Shuang continued, but when you fled, it seemed like you purposely passed by these gathering areas. Demon Swordsman's expression sank, and he laughed coldly. I was fleeing for my life, and I couldn't even protect myself. Why would I care about these ants? Alright, I don't have the mood to talk to you anymore. Thank you for saving my life, let's part ways from now on. South Demon Swordsman directly teleported away. Dongbua Shuang watched as Demon Swordsman disappeared. He didn't care about the lives of ants. Dongbua Shuang could guess that from the start. Demon Swordsman really didn't care about the lives of these tribes. If they died, then they died. He didn't care at all. But for so many tribes to be implicated, Demon Swordsman must have done it on purpose. He might have done it on purpose because he hoped to encounter a great expert living in seclusion in a tribe. If Chi Wu Palace Master's hex poison aura affected the weak, if there was a true expert living in seclusion, he would definitely act to stop Chi Wu Palace Master. At that time, he, Demon Swordsman, would have a chance to survive. Being weak is a sin. Dongbua Shuang muttered to himself. To the high and mighty Demon Swordsman, the weak were just ants. He truly didn't care. Although I pity them and feel anger towards Demon Swordsman, I don't have any killing intent. Dongbua Shuang thought. Demon Swordsman was a member of Blade Emperor City. 5 Great Sacred Worlds. Although the 3 great sacred worlds had joined hands to fight against the 2 great religions, the 3 great sacred worlds weren't completely united. Firstly, the myriad ancient sacred world was ruled by Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu. Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu were ranked at the forefront of the final realm existences. They didn't really care about the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and 7-star Oceanic Sacred World. And the relationship between the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World and 7-star Oceanic Sacred World was extremely good. Lord Lo Cheng had only constructed a total of 6-star pagodas, 1 each for the 6 great holy grounds of 7-star Oceanic Sacred World and Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. Naturally, only Ancestor Bone didn't obtain a star pagoda. One could see that Ancestor Bone was faintly being ostracized in Eastern Unicorn's Sacred World. Thus, the relationship between the 6 great holy grounds of Eastern Unicorn's Sacred World and 7-star Oceanic Sacred World was extremely good. They were like a piece of iron. Of which, the strongest was Blade Emperor. Blade Emperor was comparable to Wu Zhu, Jie Zhu, and Ancestor Mother. Demon Swordsman is after all a core member of Blade Emperor City. I can kill those from the ancient sacred religion and the Ancestor Mother religion when I say so. I can't casually act against Demon Swordsman. Just like how Dongbua Shuang was an inner hall elder of the Great Void Heaven Temple, even if Blade Emperor City and other superpowers were infuriated with Dongbua Shuang, they would not casually act against him. Otherwise, they would be slapping the face of the Great Void Heaven Temple. If they truly became enemies, they would first report to the higher-ups and let the higher-ups of the opposing superpower punish them. Furthermore, deep in my heart, I only feel that Demon Swordsman is too cold and ruthless. I don't think he deserves to die. Dongbua Shuang sighed. This was the truth. Powerful cultivators had cultivated for an unknown number of billions of years. He, Dongbua Shuang, had cultivated for tens of billions of years, and was considered to be relatively young. Over the long years, many of his loved ones were no longer around. In the midst of cultivation, some had become extreme, cold, and ruthless. If the requirements for the actions of the cultivators were too high, more than half of the cultivators in the 3 great holy grounds would be pushed to the opposite side. If that happened, the sacred master of the ancient sacred religion would obtain victory very quickly. Fighting against the ancient sacred religion was the most important thing. The region ruled by the sacred master had to have absolute faith in him. This sort of faith was not like those in his hometown Cosmos that had a relatively free faith. It was also not the simple faith that came from the soul of the weak Ancestor Mother religion. Instead, it was an imprint on the soul. Absolute loyalty. For the sake of the sacred master, he could sacrifice his life. He could even sacrifice his loved ones and friends. He would no longer have any sense of self. This was something none of the more formidable cultivators were willing to accept. The Great Void Heaven Temple, Blade Emperor City, and other superpowers have their own rules. Demons who wantonly massacred others will be killed. And for someone like Demon Swordsman, he is merely a ripple, and is still far from breaking the rules. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. Even the final realm existences had set down strict rules for the sake of balancing the various parties, but it was still within the acceptable range for existences like Ancestor Devil. Dongbua Shuang continued teleporting. So. He teleported to many places, following the traces of void to check out other places that were affected. Chi Wu Palace Master and Demon Swordsman had chased after them, but there were no survivors. Chapter 888. Dongbua Shuang was walking all over the nine-cloud Great Land. His domain was sufficiently vast, allowing him to observe the various scenes of gratitude and enmity. There were two huge tribes fighting each other for the sake of a rare treasure that had just been born. There were also devils who massacred a few million sentient beings in an assembly just for the sake of cultivating a wicked secret technique. Amidst the corpses and the gathering of resentment, there was only a single devil sitting cross-legged. When Dongbua Shuang discovered this scene as he walked along the spatial tunnel, he did not hesitate to use the plate ripple diagram to envelop the other party. Under the plate ripple diagram domain, that devil was panicking. He tried his best to move his hands, wanting to escape. But he who was barely at the second-level star pagoda strength could not retaliate at all in front of Dongbua Shuang. In the end, his body was suppressed to death by the ripples. Dongbua Shuang continued walking along the nine-cloud Great Land. Seeing all the scenes, Dongbua Shuang had many thoughts surging in his heart. Ah, young Master Fu Yi. Young Master, you are back. Void God? Young Master has become a Void God? Dongbua Shuang stood high in the sky looking down at a nation city. The highest status within this nation were Unity Realm experts. Those who could become Void Gods were considered to be part of the higher echelons of this nation. The return of a young man had caused an uproar in the entire clan. With a Void God emerging in the clan, the status of the clan had greatly improved. Dongbua Shuang watched silently for a total of 3 days. He watched as this young master became one of the protector elders under the king. The status of the clan had greatly improved. The clan occupied a territory 10 times bigger than before, and the cultivation resources of the clansmen had greatly increased. A single person protecting an entire clan. Dongbua Shuang muttered softly, for the sake of treasures, for the sake of enmity, for the sake of cultivation. Devils will kill when they are in a good mood, and when they are in a bad mood, they will still kill. The unluckiest would always be the weaklings. Even a strand of ripple from the battle between experts could easily kill them. If an expert is willing, one person can easily protect an entire clan. If we only seek to protect ourselves and watch the weak get massacred by the side, with the devils wreaking havoc and the devour class cultivators wantonly devouring them, it is likely that all the weak cultivators in the primal chaos void and 5 great holy grounds will die very soon. Shuang muttered. All of them watched from the sidelines and cared only for themselves. In the end, the weak were all killed. He walked around the place. He traveled in the 9-cloud Great Land for a total of 3 years. Hua! Space distorted. Dongbua Shuang took a step into the distorted void and left the 9-cloud Great Land. Home Universe. Dongbua Shuang appeared outside Dongbua Monarch Mansion in the Black Mist Sea. Looking at his own residence, his wife was drinking tea by herself. There was even a sharp divine sword placed on the table. Nowadays, Jing Qiu often practiced with the sword. Dong Bo Yu, Dong Bo, and Qing Yao were also in the mansion. They were training in some secret rooms. Wang. Dongbua Shuaying's consciousness instantly covered every single part of his home cosmos. Material realm, dark abyss, deity world, countless living beings were under the observation of Dongbua Shuaying. There were some he was familiar with, some were his close friends and relatives, and some were strangers. There were babbling children, youths who worked hard to cultivate since young, rich young masters who wandered around, white-haired old men and grannies. Naturally, other than these ordinary mortals, there were many cultivators. They were comprehending the profound mysteries of the laws of the world and advancing on the path of cultivation. Nobody can think of destroying everything. Dongbua Shuang thought. He had been observing the 9-cloud Great Land for the past 3 years. He even deliberately followed the ripples and rushed over. He saw too many battles and scenes of entire tribes being destroyed. Some of them were already at the end of the battle when he arrived. Hence, when he returned to his hometown, he was instinctively worried that his hometown would meet with the same fate. Even though a cosmos was powerful, it could ultimately be destroyed. For instance, primal chaos realm giants could destroy an entire cosmos if they were slightly stronger. Danger was everywhere, much less a cosmos. Even the primitive ancient sacred world of the past was destroyed. Almost all living beings in that world were wiped out. Those with strength must stand out. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes brightened. Even if the weak are guilty, it isn't a crime worthy of death. Because every expert has to grow up step by step from being weak. The weak need protection. And it must be the experts who stand out. Dongbua Shuang looked at the vast starry sky. His consciousness enveloped the countless living beings. If the experts don't stand out, who will? With strength comes responsibility. The responsibility to protect the weak. Dongbua Shuiying's heart realm was undergoing a transformation. In the past, he felt that it was not wrong to only care about one's own safety. But now, his thinking had changed. He saw how Devil's Sword Guest had casually taken a route when he escaped, causing the deaths of countless living beings. Devil's Sword Guest did not even care about it. Dongbua Shuang was moved. After 3 years of observation, his heart became firmer. He was even more certain of his understanding of himself. If the experts only cared about their own safety, the world would be finished. With strength came responsibility. He had to stand out. Perhaps my strength might be limited, but I can still shoulder a piece of the heavens. Although the area of this heavens might be small, it is enough to protect many living beings. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Wang, in the air above the black fog sea, Dongbua Shuang stood there looking at the starry sky. Gradually, his body started to emit a bright light. This was the light that originated from his soul. Gradually, a layer of golden robe condensed around his body. This robe was formed naturally from the light of his soul. There were countless patterns on the surface of the robe, containing supreme profundities. This robe was also known as a Dharma robe. It was the manifestation of supreme laws. This is. Below in the monarch manner, Jing Qiu, Dongbua Yu, Dongbua, Qingyao, as well as Blood Blade, Qiu Qibai, Paragon Huicheng, and the others who were flipping through the books, could not help but raise their heads to look. Although they were obstructed by the buildings, they could still see that figure in the starry sky without needing to utilize any techniques. Wearing a Dharma robe, the surface of his body was emitting a warm light. The light wasn't dazzling, but it was everywhere. It shone into everyone's heart. Blood Blade and the others could see it. Father? Dongbua Yu, Dongbua, Qingyao and the others could clearly see the appearance of that figure. This, Monarch Green, Primal Master, Purgatory Ruler, Temporal Island Lord and the others were in their own nests. Although they were separated by an unknown distance, they could still see that dazzling figure standing in the starry sky. Powerful existences. World deities, transcendents, ordinary mortals, and even the beasts. Every living being in the entire universe could see that figure in the starry sky. That figure seemed to be emitting boundless light and was wearing a Dharma robe. The weaker one was, the harder it was for them to see Dongbua Shuiying's appearance. Dharma robe, boundless light. Blood Blade raised his head and muttered in shock, "This is the third level of the heart realm, my heart as the world?" This was a legend. In the many epics of this universe, only 2 people had achieved this. One was the Sword Master, and the other was Ancestor Devil. And now, there was finally a third person who had achieved this. End of this chapter. Chapter 889. Blood Blade, Monarch Green, Primal Master, Pang Yi, and the others looked at the dazzling figure emitting light in the starry sky. They felt a myriad of emotions in their hearts. With their strength, they had long heard of this legend. Wearing a robe, the light is boundless, allowing all sentient beings to see that dazzling figure. But this was ultimately a legend, and none had seen it before. Today, they saw it. All of them had cultivated for a long period, yet they were stuck at the second level of the heart realm. They could not step into the third level. One had to be without perplexity, worries, and fear, with an empty heart realm, pressing forward with an indomitable will, and a single thought. Only then could one reach the first level of heart realm, heart-like colored glass. Reaching this level was considered the most basic requirement for one to have some accomplishments in the laws and profound mysteries. When the heart was like a blade, all obstacles could be split apart by the heart. On the path of cultivation, nobody could change his heart. Reaching this second level meant that one would have the potential to become an ultra-strong expert. Even devour-class existences that did not have a high requirement on the heart realm, and even primal chaos realm giants could stop at this second level. The third level of heart realm was my heart as the world. When one comprehended this step, due to various reasons, existences like Ancestor Devil who worshipped the strong and even constructed the dark abyss, causing countless demons to kill one another, existences like Ancestor Devil had also reached the third level of heart realm. Voidwalker Gucci was not willing to be restricted. He was free and unrestrained, fleeing everywhere. He had also reached the third level of heart realm. And Dongbua Shuang wanted to shoulder the sky and protect the masses. He had also broken through this feeling. Dongbua Shuang looked at the robe and the light emitted by his body. With a thought, he retracted the light and the robe disappeared. He looked into his consciousness and examined his soul. Currently, his soul was emitting a bright light that illuminated his entire consciousness. His soul was also wearing a layer of robe, greatly increasing the strength of his soul. Even the willpower contained within had become incredibly strong. Strictly speaking, previously, Dongbua Shuaying's realm was sufficiently high. He was a unity realm expert, and his Tao of Mirage and other Taos had reached an extremely profound level. His Voidwalker lineage had also reached the 40th level. The strength of his soul was absolutely at the peak amongst unity realm experts. But because his heart realm had not broken through, the willpower emitted from his soul was not condensed enough, and its power was not strong enough. Now, his mental state had changed. Although his understanding of the Tao and the lineage of Voidwalkers did not improve, his soul seemed to have gone from a loose state to a condensed state. His will was also condensed, and his might increased greatly. Even his heart power had greatly increased. In his mind, he pondered and deduced the profound mysteries, and his efficiency also increased rapidly. It was as if he was constantly eating some supplementary items to aid his cultivation. Jing Qiu. Dongbua Shuang looked down and saw his wife looking up. He took a step forward. Swoosh! Dongbua Shuang landed beside his wife, Jing Qiu. At this time, Dongbua Yu, Dongbua Qingyao, and the others rushed over as well. Father, did you just reach the legendary third stage of the mental state? Brother Dongbua. Snow Eagle. Qi Qiubai, Paragon Huacheng, Qihua Laozu, and the others who were in the Empyrean residence could not conceal the shock in their hearts as they rushed over. Let alone them, even Bloodblade was very shocked. Bloodblade even personally asked, Snow Eagle, how did you break through your mental state? Is there any trick? Since God Emperor had spoken, the others did not dare to interrupt. Bloodblade was indeed puzzled because he had yet to break through his mental state. How did you break through? Dongbua Shuang was stunned. It's mainly the understanding of the soul. I saw many weak beings dying from the shockwaves of experts. There were even some experts who would slaughter countless weak beings just because they were angry. No matter how powerful these experts were, they were still weak. If the experts were to focus on their own safety, or they would wantonly slaughter others. With the addition of some devour-class cultivators, how could the weak have any hope of survival? Dongbua Shuang carefully explained his understanding to his master. Bloodblade frowned as he listened. He understood everything. But it did not move him at all. In his eyes, even if the sky collapsed, there would be someone taller to hold it up. In the past, he was the strongest expert in the cosmos. When the ancestor mother religion invaded, he did his best to prevent the cosmos from being transformed. It was also for the sake of his race not being wiped out. But to protect the weak? Bloodblade questioned himself. He was just an ordinary void god. Above him were the Unity Realm, Primal Chaos Realm, and even the legendary Final Realm existences. Even if the sky collapsed, it would not be his turn. Occasionally, he would be willing to take pity on others. But if his cultivation could improve, he would not even blink even if a large group of weak beings died. As long as the entire race was not wiped out, so what if a group of them died? Dongba Shuang saw this and said, "Teacher, I've read through many books in the Great Void Heaven Temple. This heart realm improvement has to depend on one's own comprehension. It is useless no matter what others say." Amen. Bloodblade nodded. He believed that there were many ways to improve one's heart realm. Even Ancestor Devil could reach the third level of heart realm, and it was possible for him to do so too. Snow Eagle, you should not risk your life for the sake of the weak. That is too tiring, and you might even lose your life. Bloodblade said, cultivators should be more cautious and try to stay away from danger. Dongba Shuang nodded with a smile, "Teacher, I understand. Those with greater strength can shoulder more responsibilities. Those with lesser strength can shoulder less responsibilities. If you blindly send yourself to death, you might not even be able to protect yourself, much less others." It was useless to talk about a breakthrough in the heart realm. Just like telling others no perplexity, no worries, no fear, empty the heart realm, move forward with indomitable will, and have one thought, could it be that cultivators could easily reach the first level of the heart realm, heart as colored glass? Ultimately, they had to temper themselves. Touching the heart realm was a change in their understanding of the world from the deepest level of their soul. It was useless even if it went against one's own heart. Because the moment it went against one's will, it would be hard for one's heart realm to maintain one thought. They could not even reach the first level of cultivation. They would instinctively reject it. Therefore, it was useless to say anything more. The books in the Great Void Heaven Temple did not have any descriptions, and only allowed cultivators to comprehend it themselves. A day later, after receiving a group of cultivator friends, Dongba Shuang finally arrived at the primal chaos void outside the cosmos. During the previous day, many of the friends who came to visit him had come to seek enlightenment with pious sincerity. Dongba Shuang had explained a little at the start, but he soon understood that it was useless no matter how much he said. In fact, the more he said, the more confused they would be. It would be terrible if their hearts broke down. Therefore, Dongba Shuang decided not to say anything more, only saying that they needed to comprehend it themselves. Who? In the vast primal chaos void, the white-robed Dongba Shuang stood there. It's time to give it a try. Let's see how much my strength has improved. After his breakthrough in the heart realm, he had not had the time to practice his moves. This was because the environment within the cosmos was relatively weak, and it was more suitable for mortals and transcendents. The stronger one was, the greater the influence they would have on the cosmos. Like those at the void god level, they would harm the cosmos, accelerating the aging of this epoch and eventually destroying it. Currently, Dongba Shuaying's strength had reached the boundary of the primal chaos realm. If he were to practice some combat moves, even if he carefully isolated them, he would still harm the cosmos. Multilayered Dark World. With a thought, Dongba Shuang displayed this simplified secret technique that he created himself. Hua hua hua, in the distance, layers upon layers of the dark world appeared out of thin air. This dark world had as many as 600 layers of membranes. It caused these multi-layered dark world to descend into reality. At that moment, it frantically devoured the surrounding energy, causing the entire primal chaos void to surge violently. Furthermore, with a peng sound, all 600 layers of dark world were destroyed at the same time. This power continued stacking up, reaching a stage that startled Dongba Shuang. This power is comparable to the Black Gourd Fireball. Strictly speaking, the improvement of his heart force had greatly increased his strength. He could barely be considered at the 6th level Star Pagoda strength. Previously, he could only unleash 120 layers. The moment his heart realm broke through, his heart force rapidly became stronger, allowing him to unleash a total of 600 layers. That was exactly 5 times. It was not much at all. It was indeed a coincidence. There's still the sky punishment edge. Dongbua Shuang began concentrating. A long time ago, when he was still in closed-door cultivation within the Great Void Heaven Temple, he had comprehended all sorts of profound mysteries within the second style of Dark World, the Sky Punishment Edge, with his talent in the Tao of Mirage. But until now, he could not unleash it. Dongbua Shuang had flipped through many books left behind by Emperor Jiuyun, and vaguely deduced that it should be a problem with his heart realm. Even though he was 70 to 80% confident, he still had to test it out. Descend. With a thought, Dongbua Shuang attempted to unleash it. A new chapter began. He was currently sorting out the plot. There was only one chapter today. Chapter 890. Hong Long, there was a strand of light within the illusory world. It was condensed and pure. It seemed unremarkable, yet it was the core of the entire illusory world. In the blink of an eye, this strand of light abruptly became dazzling, turning into a dazzling blade. The entire illusory world dissipated, and this dazzling blade descended from the illusory world into reality. My heart is the heart of the world. When the heart of the world is angry, it will be the sky punishment. Dongbua Shuang completely understood the true meaning of this move. Sky Punishment Edge. In the past, even though he had comprehended all sorts of profound mysteries, he lacked the most core heart realm. Just like drawing a painting, even if one's technique was proficient, if one did not have the emotions that came from the heart, it would be hard to complete a great painting. The second style of Dark World, Sky Punishment Edge, other than having to grasp all the profound mysteries within, one had to have a powerful heart realm to command everything. Only then would one be qualified to send down that sky punishment. Hong, this blade that descended from the void absorbed the surrounding energy before finally condensing it. The original surging primal chaos void had completely solidified, and the vast primal chaos energy had calmed down. The entire primal chaos void had become completely still. The sky punishment edge suppressed everything. It caused the originally operating laws within a certain region to be suppressed by the sky punishment edge. If one said that the 600 layers of Dark World relied on the stacking of quantity to induce a qualitative change, it would have a power comparable to primal chaos experts. And that Sky Punishment Edge had a degree of profoundness that could match some primal chaos giant techniques. It was born as the Sky Punishment. See, the blade light instantly slashed out. It cut across billions of kilometers. Even Dongbua Shuang could not see the end of the blade light with his naked eyes. He could only rely on his perception of the void to determine the distance that the blade light slashed across. This move is even stronger than the 600 layers of Dark World. It is even slightly stronger than the fireball from the Black Gourd. Dongbua Shuang praised, this isn't just powerful. Even the degree of profoundness is much higher. This is the true strength of a 6th-level Star Pagoda expert. He could not help but feel admiration for that fallen Dark World Master. To be able to create such a move, it was indeed impressive. Even though the Black Gourd fireball was powerful, it was a little clumsy. Even if he were to control it himself, he would have to combine it with the plate ripple diagram. The plate ripple diagram would suppress the opponent while the Black Gourd fireball would deal the fatal blow. Only then could he swiftly kill someone at the level of Chi Wu Palace Master. But Sky Punishment Edge was different. It descended from nothingness and could directly land beside the enemy. It was extremely difficult to resist. The weakness of the Lord of Darkness is that his self-protection is too weak. Dongbua Shuang thought. The Sky Punishment Edge was a purely offensive technique. Dark World Master had reached this level in offense, but his defense should be comparable to ordinary 5th-level Star Pagoda experts. Buzz! Dongbu Shuang thought. 3 gigantic illusory worlds appeared in the chaotic void in front of him, each of which had heavenly punishment blades brewing within them. Yes, using 3 heavenly punishment blades at the same time is my limit. Dongbu Shuang thought. Even though he had some energy remaining, it was insufficient to unleash the 4th sky punishment blade. The power of the sky punishment edge was great, but it consumed a lot of heart energy too. Primal Chaos Realm. Dongbu Shuang thought. As he unleashed the sky punishment edge, he finally had a vague understanding of the final great realm of Void God, Primal Chaos Realm. It was extremely difficult to step into the Primal Chaos Realm from the Unity Realm. It was harder than stepping into the Void God realm from a true God. The biggest hurdle in the path of cultivation was stepping into the final realm from the Primal Chaos Realm. Next was stepping into the Primal Chaos Realm from the Unity Realm. Many 5th-level Star Pagoda experts were confused about what the Primal Chaos Realm was. But it was amazing for Dongbu Shuang to have some understanding of it. Primal Chaos. It contains endless possibilities. My illusory world could contain the sky punishment. It could similarly contain other possibilities. When everything is muddled, that would be primal chaos. Dongbu Shuang thought. Life. From nothing, one would cultivate step by step, becoming stronger and stronger. One would grasp more and more things, becoming more and more complex. But this complexity would become a hindrance to cultivation. That was why it would gradually converge into a complete law system before finally fusing into one. But even if it was fusing into one would still reach a certain limit in the path of cultivation. Break through again. One had to break through the limit. Allowing oneself to be filled with endless possibilities. That was primal chaos. Only primal chaos could give birth to the most perfect cosmos. That was the final realm of cultivation. My Tao of Mirage has been condensed to the pinnacle, turning into the Mirage origin. Dongbu Shuang thought, to break through the Mirage origin and turn into primal chaos, he grasped the illusory world and formed the sky punishment. That was why he had a vague understanding of the primal chaos realm. But to truly take that step was too difficult. Perhaps the Voidwalker system might be easier. Dongbu Shuang thought. If he wanted to break through in the laws and profound mysteries system, he had to comprehend it thoroughly. Currently, he could not pry into the profoundness of the primal chaos realm in the Ripple and Slaughter Tao. He could see the Tao of Mirage that had the highest talent, but he knew that it was not something that could be achieved within a short period. On the contrary, he had reached the 40th level of the Voidwalker system. One more step and he would reach the 41st level, and that would be the primal chaos realm. The reason why he could reach the 40th level so quickly was due to the incomplete set of 4 diagrams absolute art left behind by Emperor Julian. It was during the process of comprehending the first diagram that complemented the walker's hidden secret, allowing him to continuously break through as a Voidwalker. I am currently comprehending the second diagram. Maybe I might be able to step into the primal chaos realm in the future with my Voidwalker system. Dongbu Shuang thought. Let's return. Dongbu Shuang took a step before passing through the cosmos membrane and returning to the Black Fog Sea Monarch residence. In terms of strength, he could already fight against some of the weaker primal chaos giants. Heaven Weeping Sect Master was considered slightly more experienced and could get through the 7th level of Star Pagoda. There were also some weaker ones like the Devour class primal chaos giants who were stuck at the 6th level. Dongbu Shuang was currently standing at the same height as them. Such experts were rare even in the sacred world. They were absolutely giants of an area. There were so many inner hall elders in the Great Void Heaven Temple, yet none of them reached the 6th floor of Star Tower. One could see how high Dongbu Shuang's talent in the Tao of Mirage was. Of course, it was all thanks to Dark World Master for creating this absolute art. Time was merciless. In the blink of an eye, 80 million years had passed. Monarch Residence. A white-robed Dongbu Shuang sat there drinking wine. In the distance, Jing Qiu was currently practicing her sword techniques. These were all sword techniques that Dongbui Shuang had collected from the outside world. Some of them even contained some pointers from the seniors. Jing Qiu naturally loved to practice these formidable sword techniques. It's a pity that I can't transcend. Dongbui Shuang felt a faint pressure. So what if he was strong? Even though he grasped the ultra-long distance teleportation and saw a higher world, even though he comprehended the my heart as the world and was able to display the sky punishment edge, allowing him to stand amongst the true giants of the 5 great sacred worlds. None of these could compare to his desire for his wife to transcend. Why can't I find the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core? Dongbui Shuang was slightly anxious. I'll wait for a few more days. If I really can't find it, I can only thicken my face and ask Forefather for help. Forefather was after all a cosmos god. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Dongbui Shuang was not willing to ask for help from a cosmos god. Elder Dongbui, the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World's Chumu City's Eastern Unicorn Hall has a Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core for exchange. A message came through the communication talisman. Dongbui Shuang could not help but reveal a joyous look. He was so excited that he could not help but crush the wine cup in his hand. This caused Jing Qiu, who was practicing her sword in the distance, to stop. She turned towards her husband in bewilderment. How strong was her husband? Why could he not control his strength and crush the wine cup? Snow Eagle, what's wrong? Jing Qiu asked, what happened? Right, a joyous matter has happened. A very joyous matter. Dongbui Shuang laughed, I'll immediately go out for a trip. Wait for me. When I return, you will know. Chapter 891. Dongbui Shuang did not hesitate. He immediately flew into the sky, causing the void above to distort. Dongbui Shuang entered it and disappeared. In the next instant, in the distant Eastern Unicorn's sacred world of the 5 great sacred worlds, the space above the wilderness suddenly distorted. Dongbui Shuang walked out from within. He looked up at the sun to determine his position. I have deviated by quite a bit. If the distance was too far, most ultra-long distance teleportations would have deviations unless one left behind a spatial mark. But to Dongbui Shuang, there was no need for him to make arrangements since he was rushing over personally. Because no matter how far it was, 2 ultra-long distance teleportations would suffice. The first time, he arrived close to the target. The second time, because the distance was close, he could reach the target directly. The next time he appeared, Dongbui Shuang was already at the city gates of Chumu City. He entered the city gates and with another step, he arrived at the Eastern Unicorn Hall. The Eastern Unicorn Hall was similar to the 7-star Oceanic Pavilion. They opened their doors to welcome many cultivators to trade with them. At this moment, within a side hall of the Eastern Unicorn Hall in Chumu City, a dispirited middle-aged man with a scarlet horn was seated cross-legged and drinking wine by himself. He frowned slightly and was clearly troubled by something. Since an expert from the Great Void Heaven Temple is seeking to purchase the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, he must want it. And treasures like the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core are usually bought by primal chaos giants. The scarlet-horned middle-aged man thought, with his strength, I believe he will agree to my request. But if he doesn't, I can only spend Origin World Rocks to ask other experts for help. The scarlet-horned middle-aged man pondered. An attendant walked in from outside the hall. The single-horned middle-aged man immediately asked, has the guest arrived? The guest from the Great Void Heaven Temple has arrived. The attendant respectfully reported. So fast? The eyes of the single-horned middle-aged man brightened. He should have asked an expert for help and directly teleported over. For safety, he had spent 10 Origin World Rocks from the myriad ancient sacred world to hire a primal chaos giant who specialized in ultra-long distance teleportation to send him to the Eastern Unicorn sacred world. The horned middle-aged man hastily stood up and instructed, lead the way. Yes. The attendant obediently led the way. Very soon. Within a palace hall, the Eastern Unicorn Hall's branch hall master was personally accompanying him. With a single glance, the single-horned middle-aged man saw a white-robed teenager sitting cross-legged by the side of a long table. Currently, Shuang had concealed his aura and changed his appearance, so others could not recognize his identity. After all, the treasures this time were too precious. Even primal chaos giants would be jealous. Him. From the looks of it, he isn't at the primal chaos realm. The single-horned middle-aged man felt a knot forming in his heart. Please take a seat, Dongbu Shuang said from afar. The single-horned middle-aged man sat down. No matter what, those who could afford the Scarlet Cloud pomegranate core were not ordinary people. I heard you have a Scarlet Cloud pomegranate core. I've been looking for it. Tell me, what's the price? Dongbu Shuang asked directly. It was no secret that he urgently needed the Scarlet Cloud pomegranate core. The price isn't high, just 5,000 origin world stones, said the single-horned middle-aged man. Dongbu Shuang was startled. The normal price of the Scarlet Cloud pomegranate core was around 6,000 origin world stones. If he took the initiative to purchase it, most people would increase the price. The person in front of him was actually lowering the price. But I have a condition. The single-horned middle-aged man looked at Dongbu Shuang. Speak. Dongbu Shuang remained calm. This was within his expectations. Other than the 5,000 origin world stones, I hope that you can help me settle 3 matters. The single-horned middle-aged man said, the first matter is that you have to bring a young fellow over to the myriad ancient sacred world. He has just become a true god. I need you to accept him as a disciple and ensure that he can cultivate safely for 1 trillion years. Furthermore, you have to provide him with the cultivation resources he requires. Naturally, you only have to provide him with the resources to reach the Unity Realm. If he doesn't become a void god in 1 trillion years, the resources you have to pay will be lesser. I'll bring him away after 1 trillion years. But you have to guarantee his safety in 1 trillion years. The second matter is that you have to go to the myriad ancient sacred world and destroy a superpower called the Chief Devil Cliff. The 2 commanders of the Chief Devil Cliff must die. The 2 of them might specialize in survival, so I hope that you can get rid of the 2 of them within 100 billion years. There is plenty of time. The third matter is that there is a religion in the myriad ancient sacred world called the Greenpeng sect. The young fellow I need you to save is also a disciple of this Greenpeng sect. I hope that you can protect this Greenpeng sect for 1 trillion years. Within 1 trillion years, the Greenpeng sect must not be destroyed. The location of the sect must not be destroyed. Dongbu Shuang immediately began gathering information through the communication talisman. Myriad ancient sacred world. It was governed by Wu Zhu and Jie Zhu. The 2 of them had practically split the entire myriad ancient sacred world into 2, with each ruling half of the region. And the region governed by Jie Zhu was famous for being chaotic. Over here, the Devour class cultivation was completely open to the public. Many experts were wantonly fighting and devouring. This place was even more chaotic than the Dark Abyss in his hometown Cosmos. Of which, the Chief Devil Cliff was one of the fiercest superpowers. The Greenpeng sect was slightly weaker. These 2 superpowers belonged to the region governed by Jie Zhu. The 2 commanders of the Chief Devil Cliff were both at the 5th level Star Pagoda strength. They had devoured countless existences and were infamous. The Greenpeng sect was an ancient cultivation system sect. They had an extremely formidable Greenpeng inheritance, and many ancient cultivators had joined this sect. One had to know that inheritance was very important for the ancient cultivation system. Resources were important too. If one did not have an inheritance and had to rely on himself to explore, he might be able to become stronger, but he would not be able to dig out enough potential. The same starting point, but different inheritances would result in a world of difference in strength in the future. Dongbu Shuang had obtained a large number of ancient cultivation inheritances from the secret vault of Emperor Julian. It's a pity that even though he had memorized many of them, they were too complex. Without truly comprehending them, he could not impart them either. These are my conditions. The single-horned middle-aged man looked at Dongbui Shuang. If you agree, then this transaction will be completed. Of course, if you don't do any of these 3 tasks well, you will have to pay 1,000 Origin World Rocks as compensation. If you don't do all 3 tasks well, you will have to pay 3,000 Origin World Rocks. The Eastern Unicorn Hall will be the witness. Dongbui Shuang looked at the single-horned middle-aged man. Who is the little fellow you want me to bring away? I will tell you once you agree to my conditions. The single-horned middle-aged man said. I have to rush to the myriad ancient sacred world, and I will need some time to reach the Greenping sect. If the little fellow I want to bring dies along the way, the Greenping sect will be destroyed. Are you blaming me for that? Dongbui Shuang asked. From the moment the transaction is completed. You have to reach the Greenping sect within 1,000 years. If the little fellow dies within 1,000 years, the Greenping sect will be destroyed. Naturally, I won't blame you. The single-horned middle-aged man sneered, but you better not send experts in the dark to destroy the Greenping sect within 1,000 years. If you do that, I will definitely not rest until you die. Dongbui Shuang chuckled. He did not place the strength of this person in front of him in his eyes. But within the Eastern Unicorn Hall, Dongbui Shuang would not act recklessly. Even though he had the strength to destroy everything, killing a guest within the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World would mean offending the various sacred grounds of the Eastern Unicorn Sacred World. Even a primal chaos giant would not be able to bear the consequences. Rest assured, I disdain to do so. Dongbui Shuang said. Within a year, I will reach the Greenping sect. Dongbui Shuang said, I will do my best in whatever you say. As for the Greenping sect, as long as it isn't a primal chaos giant attacking with his true body, I can guarantee its safety. All right. The single-horned middle-aged man's eyes brightened. Reach in a year. The distance between the 2 sacred worlds was extremely far. To reach the Greenping sect within a year, the price he had to pay wouldn't be small. You agree? The single-horned middle-aged man asked. I agree. Dongbui Shuang nodded. These weren't difficult for him. Protect the little fellow's safety. A little fellow who had just become a true god, he could just bring him back to his hometown cosmos. Kill the 2 leaders of the Chief Devil Cliff? Dongbui Shuang didn't care about the other party's strength. He cared more about the other party's temperament. Since they were 2 devils who had devoured countless people, he wouldn't mind killing them. Protect a sect? He pondered in his heart and thought of an idea. Ha ha ha, with the Eastern Unicorn Hall as a witness, I believe you can do it. The single-horned middle-aged man flipped his hand and a jade box appeared. The scarlet cloud pomegranate core is inside. Dongbui Shuang revealed a grin. He had finally succeeded. Chapter 892. East Unicorn Hall was the witness of the transaction. Only then did the single-horned middle-aged man relax. He was too nervous. Ever since he obtained the precious scarlet cloud pomegranate core, he was constantly nervous. He even felt that that myriad ancient sacred world was too dangerous and killing was too common. He spent over 1,000,000 years to be transported to the Eastern Unicorn's sacred world. In terms of order, the Eastern Unicorn sacred world was better than the 7-star Oceanic sacred world. Before the transaction was completed, he was very nervous. He might have quoted the price of 5,000 Origin World Rocks, but in reality, he hadn't even seen 100 Origin World Rocks. With these Origin World Rocks, my plan can be carried out. My strength can also greatly increase. The single-horned middle-aged man thought. He had too many plans. Peng, senior uncle needs time to cultivate. 1,000,000,000,000 years. I will definitely return to the Greenping sect. At that time, I will become the strongest expert in the Greenping sect and control it. The myriad ancient sacred world, especially the region ruled by Jie, was too dangerous. It wasn't suitable for him to cultivate. Yunpeng. When Dongbu Shuang received the information, he couldn't help but ask, "How long have you been away from the Greenpeng sect?" "A few million years." The single-horned middle-aged man replied. "Are you sure that Yunpeng is still in the Greenpeng sect?" Dongbu Shuang asked. The single-horned middle-aged man was startled. "Should be. I think you should investigate." Dongbu Shuang smiled and looked at the hall master of the Eastern Unicorn Hall, Chi Fu Hall Master. "It shouldn't be hard for your Eastern Unicorn Hall to investigate if this Yunpeng brat is still in the Greenpeng sect, right? One origin world rock." The Chi Fu Hall Master smiled. "All right." The single-horned middle-aged man replied. "Just one." The current him was rich and didn't care about this. Dongbu Shuang accompanied the single-horned middle-aged man to drink while waiting for news from the Eastern Unicorn Hall. Behind the Eastern Unicorn Hall were the Blade Imperial City, Void God Hall, Star City, and Ancestor Bone Palace. Among them, there were some powerful ancient cultivators that could investigate the Greenpeng sect in the myriad ancient sacred world. After a moment, "The kid called Yunpeng is not in the Greenpeng sect." Palace Master Chi Fu said, "I'll also give you a piece of information for free. When I was investigating Greenpeng sect, I discovered Greenpeng sect disciples discussing that a group of disciples was abducted. Yunpeng was one of them." The single-horned middle-aged man's heart was in his throat, and he heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that he had been captured. At the very least, it was possible that he was still alive. He hastily asked, "Where is he now?" "How would I know?" Palace Master Chi Fu shook his head. "If we don't know the exact location, it won't be that easy to find." "It's possible," Dongbu Shuang said. "Just like in the Great Void Heaven Temple, when he was tracking down the assassin who had tried to assassinate him, if it wasn't for the Myriad Realms Tavern Master's obstruction, he would have already found out who the assassin was." Palace Master Chi Fu looked at Dongbu Shuang and nodded. "Yes, you can, but it's much more troublesome. You'll need 200 origin world rocks for each check." 200? The single-horned middle-aged man's eyes widened. He only spent 10 origin world rocks to teleport over from the myriad ancient sacred world. Most experts who could get through the 4th level Star Pagoda might not even have 200 origin world rocks worth of treasures. Just a simple check. You can choose not to check. Palace Master Chi Fu chuckled. "Check." The single-horned middle-aged man gritted his teeth. This was the person he cared about the most, and he had to find out the truth. This time, he waited for a long time. 4 hours later, Palace Master Chi Fu said, "I've checked. This brat called Yunpeng is currently a slave of the myriad ancient sacred world's Golden Eclipse Nation, Devil Eye God Prefecture." Golden Eclipse Nation? Slave? The single-horned middle-aged man's expression turned slightly pale. Golden Eclipse Nation. It was a relatively strong superpower in the region governed by the myriad ancient sacred world master. The Golden Eclipse King was even one of the many personal disciples of Jie. "Within a year, I'll reach the Golden Eclipse Nation and save this brat called Yunpeng," Dongbu Shuang said. "Are you confident?" The single-horned middle-aged man looked at Dongbu Shuang excitedly. From his point of view, just the identity of the Golden Eclipse King as Jie's personal disciple was enough for him to do whatever he wanted in the myriad ancient sacred world. Dongbu Shuang chuckled. This fella might be lucky to obtain the treasure, but his understanding of the upper echelons of the 3 great sacred worlds was still too little. "I'm confident," Dongbu Shuang said. After the transaction was settled, Dongbu Shuang left the Eastern Unicorn sacred world alone and returned to his hometown Cosmos. Within his hometown Cosmos, black fog sees monarch residence. Jing Qiu. Dongbu Shuang returned to the residence and shouted when he saw the figure of his wife who was training her sword. Jing Qiu turned around and chuckled, "Snow Eagle, you're back so quickly. You said that there's a joyous occasion, but you didn't mention it in detail. What is it?" Ha ha ha. Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but laugh. This was a joyous occasion. It wasn't easy for him to obtain the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core. On one hand, he had to reach his current level of strength. On the other hand, he had to be lucky enough to enter Emperor Julian's treasure cove. If it wasn't for the treasure cove, how would he be able to afford the Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core? If he had to slowly accumulate it over time, he really didn't know how long he would need to accumulate it. What exactly is the joyous occasion? Hurry up and tell me. Jing Qiu couldn't help but urge. Dongbua Shuang chuckled. He then waved his hand and instantly, a hall appeared out of nowhere. It landed on the grassland and occupied an area of 50 miles. Jing Qiu could feel that the aura of this hall was extraordinary with a single glance. Just the formless aura alone was enough to make her feel pressured. Follow me in. Dongbua Shuang brought his wife into this hall. From today onwards, you will cultivate here. Dongbua Shuang smiled. As he spoke, he flipped his hand and took out a black jade bottle. With a flick of his hand, the black jade bottle flew towards a notch on the wall of the hall and was stuck there. Golden runic patterns appeared on the surface of the black jade bottle. The entire hall was filled with runic patterns as a faint fragrance permeated the air. Just by smelling the fragrance, one's soul would feel incomparably tranquil. This fragrance can last for 380 million years. Dongbua Shuang spoke as he flipped his hand and took out a jade box. Opening it, a fragrant green bamboo shoot could be seen within the box. Although it looked like a bamboo shoot, upon closer inspection, there were many differences. There were layers of translucent runic patterns on its surface. Eat it. Dongbua Shuang looked at his wife. Jing Qiu just smelled the fragrance emitted from the jade box, and she felt her soul rumbling. She could instantly comprehend and think. The efficiency was so high that it was almost comparable to the enlightenment she had experienced in the past. She knew that her husband had left his hometown cosmos to search for treasures so that they could transcend. As for Dongbua, Qingyao, and Dongbua Yu, they had relied on themselves to break through. She was the only one left. Her husband was previously overjoyed, and it should be because of this treasure. And then, Jing Qiu directly picked it up. She lightly bit on it. It was very crispy. The moment it entered her mouth, it melted completely, turning into a green energy that fused into her body. She felt a soul-trembling sensation that was even more stimulating than when she smelled the fragrance. Quick, eat everything. Dongbua Shuang said. Jing Qiu ate it in 2 mouthfuls before eating it. She did not know what kind of precious treasure she had just eaten. If she were to exchange this Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core, she would be able to obtain a puppet life form that was similar in strength to the wild black dog from the starting ground. The price of creating a cosmos was not even comparable to this Scarlet Cloud Pomegranate Core.